This is 365 Sports.
Daniels keeps it, and he scores.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Underneath, Smith gets to the corner. Money on the rise. Touchdown, Jeremiah Smith.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Johnson buys some time. There's the tight end again, rumbling towards the end zone, and the touchdown for Ancio.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Klubnik's going to take off. Klubnik for the touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And here we go. We start another week, and this is a little bit different than the last several months. In fact, college football is here. There will be a game in Dublin, Ireland later on this week. It will involve two ranked teams in the top 25 with Kansas State and Iowa State. We've got a lot of other football news to get to, and we will. But my goodness, college football is here.
Yep, it's finally that time. Absolutely excited for Saturday with Farmageddon in Ireland at the Aer Lingus Classic. That is going to be awesome. Really, really pumped up for the Big 12 to get a nice showcase game like that. But finally, that on Monday, we get to talk about games, like actual results of games, as opposed to all this other stuff, which we will proceed to talk about in the next 20, 30 minutes. But even still, it'd be nice to talk about games for once.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm a college football fan, is the actual games, and some of the extracurricular is fun as well, although some of it can get very tiresome, and we are going to get to that, like you said. But the reason why most of us are fans is the games and the Saturdays and now the multiple days that games air. But, yeah, we're going to get hopefully great showdown there in Ireland between Iowa State and Kansas State. Seen a lot of the folks who have made their way over there seem to be enjoying themselves, and hell, you still got a whole week before, or not a whole week, but 5 more days before that game actually kicks off. So Cool opportunity for those folks, but not the only game in town. Kansas plays this weekend as well. There's a handful of games. So, yeah, Kansas State, Iowa State, I think, is the biggest one by far because it's a conference game. It's two top 25 teams. It's a top 25 game right out of the gates. But, yeah, Kansas
and they're kind of like rivals, too, yeah.
Not kind of, they are. Yeah. I mean, there's I don't know the degree of the rivalry. I think some can kind of overmodulate its importance, and maybe not. Maybe it's exactly as touted. But yeah, there's a rivalry aspect to it as well. But yeah, Kansas plays this weekend. UNLV and Idaho State, Hawaii, Stanford, Western Kentucky, Sam Houston. So yeah, we're gonna have a handful of games to enjoy.
Yeah, Stanford, Hawaii, and of course there's the. That Kansas game is going to be at the renovated David Booth, and they are unveiling that. Of course, we've seen pictures and eventually still work to be done. But Rocco Beck, Iowa State quarterback in Dublin with his football team and everybody else who's there showing off his swag. As you can see, take it out of his duffel bag with every type of T-shirt, undershirt, whatever you have, and I'd like to have a couple of those. Wouldn't mind it no matter what college team. Well, there's a couple of college teams I wouldn't want to wear, but a huge duffel bag filled with numerous Iowa State Cyclones, what it is. Even there you see some pants. There you go. So he's ready, and everybody gets that swag bag when they arrive and also will be a part of the week in Dublin.
I hope they all fit.
Chris Williams, by the way, from Cyclone Fanatic, who's obviously a guest of ours. He's with his family. He's showing off pictures. He's been basically everywhere and staying up late at night and enjoying every bit of that trip in Dublin, Ireland.
I hope he enjoys it. I really wanted to go last year when FSU was there. Now I'm very glad that it did not work out and I didn't get to go because I don't mind like going to a road game in this country that my team loses. I did that, 3 weeks later. Anyway, but if I go to a whole nother country and they lose, I think I'd be bummed.
I don't know, man. I'd like to go to Ireland just because I don't really care about my team all that much, honestly. But, yeah, I mean, I can see where that'd be a bummer for some people. And Chris is getting the full meal. I mean, he's one of those that I've seen that's been out there already a couple days, and there's 5 more days till kickoff. So he's getting like a full week in Ireland. So, I mean, the game's like a backdrop, if anything. I mean, it's the reason why you're there, but it's a slice of the actual time that he's spending. And you're saying he's up late and everything. I think you maybe don't understand time zones. I don't think he's actually up that late. I think
he's about 9 hours ahead.
Yeah, I think he's like just on a totally different planet.
But
basically.
When he was up, it was like 3-something here. So it was around midnight when I saw his tweet. Yeah.
I mean, I would expect him to be around midnight. I wondered if maybe you caught him when it's like just normal time there and it's odd times here. But anyways, he seems to be having fun, and I'm sure it's a great experience for K-State and Iowa State fans.
Well, so here's a few things in college football, and then we're going to get to a lot of the quarterback information. Big Ten, you saw this over the weekend, floating now the idea of featuring plus 20 teams now. It's growing. It's early. Would eliminate league title games. Tony Petitti is not happy because he didn't get what he wanted when the other number of automatic qualifiers. So now you want to increase the field and the possibility of having even more. I actually saw not a complete, this is ridiculous. Sam Kahn, by the way, we'll get to it later on, put together a story about, well, okay, if you're going to do this, you got to do it the way the FCS does it. And we'll have that for you a little bit later on. But Tony Petitti is absolutely locked in on trying to change conference championship weekend and the number of teams in the playoffs.
He's trying to increase the number of television shows that there are because he's a television exec and that's what he knows. So he's trying to create more television shows and whether it hurts the product or not, they'll have inventory. That's the only thing he thinks about is that. And see, if they had just gone out a few years ago when they decided to expand the playoff and go, look, the FCS model is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it with this many teams, I think people would have been maybe easier to get behind it because there was something, more to it, that used years of history of doing it and all of that. But this is not that. It is just more increased bids, including giving 2 more bids each to the Big Ten and the SEC than you would get in the in the rest of them, which the automatic qualifiers is the problem in this. That's the issue that most people have is, what if even out of 28 teams, you don't have 7? Because there's a high likelihood, even with these gigantic conferences, that maybe you wouldn't. And so, I just think he's, for whatever reason, whether it's trying to get them to go back to his original plan or he's just determined to be a disruptor, this is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think that I've said this previously, like within the last few weeks. I've been somebody that's definitely poked at Greg Sankey from time to time, but I think I said a couple of months ago that I should be just as harsh, if not more harsh, towards Tony Petitti, because he's the guy that doesn't take any of the bullets. He just sat back and let Sankey take a lot of the bullets. And, Sankey dug in and fought for his conference, and that's what you'd expect him to do, not whether it matters and is good for everybody else. But I do think that if you're to ask me who has more of college football's best interest in mind, even though they're only fighting for their conferences based on their job, I'd say Greg Sankey cares more about the sanctity of college football easily over Tony Petitti. So I haven't always believed that. Like, I don't believe that at every turn that he's doing what's best for college football, because, again, ultimately he's the SEC commissioner. But do I think if you sat down in the room, like, what would pop out on the other end, like whose version would be better for the sport or whose ideas would be better for the sport? I typically think Greg Sankey's probably would be, because, I think Tony Petitti is a guy who's just here to create TV product and make money. And look, Greg Sankey's there to do that as well. But again, I think that he's got at least some thoughts in mind about, hey, this is still the specific enterprise that we need to protect and make sure that it stays unique and its own thing and all of that. Now, does that mean he would not want to go take his league and put it into a super league if it was going to make him billions of dollars? No. But do I think he'd at least think about for like 5 seconds everybody else and how all that would work, and if there would be a way to make that work for everybody else as well? I think he actually would consider that. Do I think Tony Petitti would do that? Absolutely not. I think if Tony Petitti could create the Super League and make it 16 versus 16 Big Ten SEC super tournament, he would do that and sell it to all the networks and make a bunch of money. Yeah, I don't think he has the game's best interest in mind. I don't know how many people do at this point, to be perfectly honest with you. It seems like everybody's just money grabbing, and it's mostly from the TV networks and then trickles on down. So, I mean, he didn't get what he wanted. They floated the idea, didn't go over all that well. Especially when it came to the automatic qualifiers, the SEC suddenly backs off because they understand they're going to be good either way. They don't really need the automatic qualifiers because they're going to always get their fill and more than that. I don't think the Big Ten can always say that, though. So how can you rig it as much as you possibly can in your favor? Oh, you guys didn't like 4 automatic qualifiers going with your 2? Well, hey, we'll give you, was it 5 for the Big 12 and the ACC?
Yeah.
Now we get 7, but you get 5. The problem is, if you're the Big 12 or the ACC, that's awfully enticing. Now you've got 5 teams in the playoff, but your percentage is actually reduced. Mm-hmm. The percentage of participants is actually reduced. Even though you have 5 as opposed to 2, the field now, you have less of a percentage, even with more teams involved. So it's enticing, but you really boil it down, and I think you stick to your guns if you're the Big 12 and the ACC on this. Now, I don't know how much say you ultimately have over it, but I think enough of the rattling of the cages early on at least led to now we're pivoting and now he's trying something else, because the last time it didn't go over well for everybody. So I hate the timing of this. I'm not surprised by it. And I'm not surprised by Tony Petitti pushing an idea like this. I'm not surprised we're here. I don't agree with everybody who said this was inevitable and like want to blame people that wanted an expanded playoff. Oh, you knew it was going to come here. Well, not necessarily. Just because people wanted 12 doesn't mean that we had to guarantee that it would be this and that and this, therefore, all down the line. But, people are greedy. So I think Tony Petitti is being as greedy as he possibly can and working the system to try to get his way that's best for his conference, just like everybody else is doing. And I don't know, based on what I've seen, I don't think it's gone over very well. There's some people that seem entertained by it, but I think the majority of people are like, what is this bastardized version of college football you're now trying to turn this into? Yeah,
part of me thinks, and again, I saw many people say this, is this just an even crazier proposal for people to come back to the table and look at the one that he really wants?
Yeah.
And that's part of the negotiation.
That might be it.
Maybe.
But the thing is that, I mean, like, is he going to, like, I don't know. I mean, Smokey, I know you won't get this reference, but there was there was an episode of The Office where Michael Scott had started his own paper company. He told them, like, listen, this one will fail. I'll just start another paper company and another and another and another until you have to give me my job back. And they're just like, okay, fine. Well, is that what he's going to do? Is he just going to start like, oh, you didn't like 24 to 28? Oh, all right. Well, how about 40? Yeah. Like, is he really going to do this?
And like, it's going to make everyone forget that they didn't like the first idea.
I don't know. He's whatever he's doing this for, it's not, like Craig said, for the good of college football. It is so that the Big Ten Network, and their television partners, that he can take them a new package that says, here, I know you're already giving us 90, but what if you gave us 180? Like,
He's also trying to cover his ass.
Yes.
Because he promised a lot of the members, if not all of them, whether it's presidents or ADs, and of course Fox is in on this too, even though they don't have anything when it comes to the college football playoff, he's trying to cover what he promised that he would deliver to his membership a few months ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's got to do what's best for his constituents, of course, but I do wish that there would be enough people that kind of stand up and go like, what are we like? Are we thinking about 10, 15 years from now? I just feel like everything I'm looking at, and this goes for like the TV deals like you saw with the UFC and WWE and just really everything going on right now. It's just cash grabs left and right. Mm-hmm. Like, that's all it is. There's no forward thinking. It's all like, it's just grab as much money as you possibly can while it's still there, and we'll sort it out later on. And so I think, everybody's just trying to grab money where they can and grab real estate where they can, and the Big Ten's no different. But, yeah, their first idea didn't go over well. The SEC pivoted, and we're like, okay, fine, we won't go that way. And then once they did that, it was kind of like, oh, damn. Nobody likes our idea, and the team that could help us out is not really even on our side anymore. So now what do? We go back to the drawing board, and we try to grease the wheel a little bit more, and we say, hey, Big 12 and SEC, 5 automatic qualifiers. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't pass that up, right? And it's like, well, actually, we have a lower percentage of teams now a part of the field, so, yeah, we can pass, and I think they will pass, and then we'll see where that takes us. But I want to go back to what I said about, I've seen a lot of like, like, we told you this was going to happen when the playoff expanded, and I kind of commented on that a little bit. I don't think this all had to be inevitable, though, is what I guess I was going to try and say is, yeah, we know people are greedy. Yeah, we know the TV networks are running college football. Yeah, we know all these things, but just because you decided to expand it a little doesn't mean that, like, even though it was inevitable in their hands, doesn't mean that it's our fault we wanted to see 12. So now it's the fans' fault that it's going to be 32. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, that's directly the TV executive's fault. It's not the fans' fault for wanting something other than the BCS. It's not the fans' fault for not feeling like 4 teams was enough in the playoff. The fans just wanted a better option, and they got that with 12, and that wasn't totally okay. So now we've tweaked it, and now we'll see what it looks like this year. But I've seen almost like finger pointing of like, you asked for this, fans, and yeah, fans asked for a little, and yeah, they probably understood that it was going to come with another party that then took a mile, but that's not on the fans. That's still on the people who took that mile, whether you knew they were going to or not. That's on them. And so, yeah, nobody's to blame but the TV executives. And so, yeah, they're going to do what they do. They run the sport, and here they are, at least in Big Ten country, trying to, commandeer as much real estate as they possibly can.
Well, yeah, and it just seemed like we say this in the season starting Saturday, and it still will be a part of topics and discussion, and you'll see reports, et cetera. But it just seems like there just can never just be a week or 2 or 5 where there's just nothing but football, even on the first week of the season when that came over the weekend. Now, the SEC ADs are meeting later on this week. This is scheduled. This is not like some kind of a double secret probation, oh my God, to look at the possibility, but most likely remaining at what they do, 8 conference games, which of course also could keep the college football playoff at 12 teams in 2026 and not just one more year this year. Now, let's get to some we've discussed that so many times. I don't even know what else we could add to the mix. They're not changing. They're not going until they get more money. It's not going to happen. This is also them putting their foot down and making sure the Big Ten, hey, wait a minute, we are still very much a part of the discussion and whatever else decisions are made down the road.
Yeah, I think it's just more of the same, and it's unfortunate that this is still kind of in the headlines, but we can move on from it, and we will. And pretty soon, these will get lost in the headlines for the most part. Like at least we're still talking headlines. Hey, we're still the thing from like 2 months ago, and the thing from we're still there. But here's an update just to let you know that we're still there. Like that's not going to be nearly as of importance because the news cycle is going to be a lot crazier. But I guess my only thought on the SEC remaining tight on where they've been all along, really, and the Big Ten trying to go and grab as much as possible is I love this sport. I know it's not the same sport that I grew up watching. I think it's absurd that they can't just settle on a postseason format. Like I just think it's like comical that you can't just figure out a proper way to crown a champion and that you've spent the better part of like 15 years trying, or longer than that, but like you spent multiple decades trying to just figure out how to crown a national champion. And I feel like it shouldn't be this complicated.
I just wish you could. I know this is me not getting off my lawn, but you know what? I really don't care at the end of the year if there are two teams that play in one game for the championship, which in the end, no matter how many playoff teams, or quite frankly, if they had two different national champions because one team was 12-0, 13, 14-0, and another one was 2, and this one team got it, and whatever. Now, some football starting quarterback news. No. One more note in college football. Chris Del Conte. I remember when he got the job at TCU, he got the job at Texas, and I was like, well, I don't know. Well, this has been an absolute perfecto match. His personality fits the school, fits who they are, and what they want to be. He is now the Lost Dodge was always the dog, right? The alpha dog. And after that, they kind of just like looking around. He is going to get a nearly 20% increase in guaranteed compensation and an 11-year, an AD getting an 11-year, $38.8 million contract pending approval. I got to say, he's earned every damn dollar of it.
Look, he went and stole your rival's baseball coach right as you go into the league with him.
Weirdly in a graveyard.
I know.
They moved into the SEC when he and Kevin Heltime kept it quiet.
Yeah, they moved into the SEC with great success. They've all of these things have happened. Yeah, you don't want to you only get a couple of these in any kind of job in every generation, right? DeLoss Dodds invented the modern athletic director job. I mean, or he's one of those. He's like one of them, yeah. But he kind of invented the modern athletic director job. And then after that, they had a bunch of they had one wannabe, and then they had interim before Del Conte, and now you've got another guy who can operate in that world, and it'd be crazy to lose him because he's just one of the best doing it.
Yeah, you got to wonder if there's another school out there, a big boy, there's like 5 or 8 of them that also might have been nibbling on him. That maybe a bigger school.
Even if there really weren't, I would say there are.
I don't know if there's anybody bigger than where he's at right now as far as that's concerned, but just okay. By the way, we want to give you this, and he's earned it.
Yeah, I think he's more than earned it. He's the right guy, the right place, right time. I think Chris Del Conte, no matter who else might have nibbled at his heels, is probably pretty well known that Texas is where he wanted to be. I mean, as soon as he took the job, you read the stories, it's like this was his dream job. This is where he's always gearing towards. This was always the end goal. And so he worked the system and worked his way over the years into being able to get that dream job. And I think that if it was the old era, that he would have been successful at Texas. But I think you put him in this era, and it's like putting all the chemicals together for a nuclear bomb in the best type of way, because he's the best AD fit at Texas you could possibly imagine. And now you go, hey, you're not only already a pretty good fit for this, and you're at the biggest school in Texas, and you're one of the biggest schools in the entire country, and money and all that. But now guess what's about to happen? Money's going to matter more than it's ever mattered before, and we're going to be able to just flaunt it. And so you get a guy who already knows how like the whole system operates and has been dreaming of this job, and now you go like, now you don't even have handcuffs on, because now you can operate this thing at full speed, full capacity. Yeah, they were very fortunate it worked out the way that it did. He was probably always going to be their AD, but to get him and then also simultaneously see this new era start, I think that makes Texas like the number one place out there. I know Ohio State would have something to say about that, or one or two others maybe, but yeah, hard-pressed to find a better athletic department to be running in this day and age. Location, everything that comes with that, and then to have him running it when he's a guy that's been geared up for it. Yeah, it's working out really well.
And he has that little bit of, like DeLoss Dodds said, we are the Jones. He's got a little bit of that in him. He's been able to make some comments along the way. He's earned it. And he's at a place that is on a tremendous run across the board in athletics. Ohio State, not a surprise, but they made it official. Their Julian Sayin, who once was committed to Alabama, Saban left, and he moves back, gets on the road, goes to Ohio State, has been named the quarterback. The opening game against UT will be in Columbus, not this weekend, but next, and he will be the starting quarterback for the Buckeyes, the defending national champions.
And Colin Simmons already reposted it to his Instagram. So, I mean, that's, this is the guy he's going to go looking to hit here in a week. Or so, or over a week, when they play in Columbus, Ohio. Not a surprise, but I think I was surprised that it went kind of this long. But Lincoln Kienholz and he really kind of had the same basic experience. So you don't get recruited if you're Lincoln Kienholz by Ohio State if you're just okay. So, I'm glad for their sake that they pushed each other. And Julian Sayin was the number one quarterback in the country for a reason. And now he's got the opportunity to prove it.
He's the guy that was expected to be the starter. I think most people predicted he would be the guy to emerge. So he does. Don't feel there's much surprise there in that regard. But, yeah, a lot of hype surrounding this young man. Big-time program to go grab the reins of. And excited to see what he can do against Texas. Arch, probably one of the only quarterbacks that's in a position to be overshadowing a guy like the starting quarterback at Ohio State. But what a showdown that'll be, and both have a lot to prove, and both will have a raucous atmosphere right out of the gate. So looking forward to it. Again, felt this was going to be the decision. So now we've got our matchup pretty much fully set, and can look forward to what ought to be a hell of a day coming up in 2 Saturdays.
Their quarterback room was Sayin, a transfer freshman. Kleinholtz, again, a redshirt sophomore, and then Tavion St. Clair is a freshman. So very young at that quarterback position, all of them highly rated. Tennessee, this is who you thought when they lost Nico to UCLA. Well, they bring in Aguilar. Joey has now been named the transfer from UCLA as the starting quarterback at Tennessee. He, of course, also was at Appalachian State for a couple of years. So he now is the Volunteers' next man up.
Yeah, and he put up a ton of yards, as you can see up there on the graphic. 2 really good seasons he had at App State. I thought it was a nice grab for UCLA when they got him. Of course, then that was before the Nico soap opera. So hopefully he can step right into that offense for Josh Heupel and produce for the Vols. I think he'll do all right. I think that Heupel has proven himself to be a pretty capable offensive developer. He and his staff, Joey Halsell and all that have been there. Like they've got plenty of guys that can show that they're really good, and they're really good at turning people around in a short amount of time. Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton too. I mean, this is the shortest amount of time, but they've been good with transfer quarterbacks there at Tennessee.
So it's officially official, not the report that he's the leading candidate and the report that he's the starter now is officially official. Okay, great. So, yeah, we've kind of already known this, right, for a while.
Zenit is really good at what he does. But
yeah, it's
right,
just
this is official.
There's so many unofficial, this guy's the guy, and so now it's official.
And then a lot of times they peel it from somebody else who's reported it, put their logo on it, and make it look like it's their news.
No. Yeah, I'm very well aware of a lot of the tactics out there. So, good to see it official, and no more, I guess, wondering. I don't know how much wondering there was really, but I think it's a great opportunity for Joey Aguilar. I mean, good for him. He couldn't have seen this coming. I know he had another opportunity, but just the way the Nico situation played out, so unforeseen, and what a whirlwind, I guess, just really for Joey Aguilar to try to figure out where he is going to be playing in 2025. And now he's the starting quarterback of one of the biggest brands out there in the whole land. And what an energy rush that will be to go play in Knoxville for the first time. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Seems like a good dude, a solid player who's got a lot of reps under his belt and a lot of numbers under his belt as well, as you see there. So I'm excited for him. Like, I'm almost kind of rooting for him in a way, strangely maybe, but because I have no ties, no skin in the game for Tennessee, but just because of how that whole situation played out, I'm hoping he does well.
Alabama opens up against Florida State. They will not have one of their talented young running backs, a young man who's from Texas. Jam Miller played at Legacy High School, now Legacy High School in Tyler, suffered a pretty severe upper body injury. In fact, Kalen DeBoer said he would be out for the game against Florida State. Jam Miller trying to get his chance, but he will miss that opening game against the Seminoles.
Yeah, and they did not run the ball from the running back position very well last year. Actually, the last couple years, as they had, and Saban's last year, DeBoer's first. But they're still Alabama. They're still going to figure it out. They still have guys. But this is a big one because I think Jam Miller had started to kind of come into his own a little bit, and now he's hurt and out for the first one, and won't get to play against the Noles. And that's all I'm going to comment on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want people to seem like I'm like, oh, hey, I don't want people to be hurt. I just, it's a bummer that they're not going to.
I mean, I wasn't expecting you to celebrate him being hurt. I wasn't even thinking about him playing against Florida State. But I guess I see where you're coming from there. Yeah. He went to my high school, so I hate that fellow Red Raider is dinged up, especially because he's a very good player and. Expecting huge things from him this year at Alabama. Had a pretty good year last year, but certainly expecting that to tick up a little bit, even with all the other studs they have. So, yeah, it's just really unfortunate. I said it last week when Dawson Pendergrass got hurt, that it just sucks to get all the way here, and then right before you're about to go out there and do it officially, it's getting taken away from you. So, unlike Pendergrass, who's losing an entire year, it looks like Miller will have the opportunity to come back, but also – pretty cloudy on when that actually might be. So, yeah, it won't be against Florida State. That's potentially, we'll see. I don't know if it makes a huge difference or not that he won't play against Florida State because maybe their running backs still run for 500 yards ultimately.
Yeah,
we'll see. If they don't, then we'll be like, hey, they should have had Jam Miller. That was a big loss that they didn't have him. But I just, again, hate the timing of it, and I want to see the best players on the best teams be able to play. So that's unfortunate.
He was in a high school backfield with Bryson Donnell, who went to Texas Tech, who's now at UTSA. Both of them Division I running backs on the same high school team that won 6 games there last year.
Yes, Tyler Legacy. I don't think, like Midland, they will be changing their name if I had to
I don't
guess.
think I don't know if the Tyler School Board
I went to Tyler Lee.
Yeah.
It's now Tyler Legacy, and I don't think they're going to change back unlike the folks out in Midland. But Jamari on the Jam, that's a nice little – that's Jam Miller. That's a hell of a college football or just an athlete name, Jam Miller.
He was the number one on their depth chart. And of course, getting the opportunity, as we all have said, and now we'll miss early on in the year. Meanwhile, a couple other quarterback notes we got to get on a little bit. Here's one of them. Rice is named – Chase Jenkins, who went to Taylor High School, Alief Taylor down near the Houston area, redshirt sophomore, named as the Rice Owls starting quarterback at a game at Louisiana. So there's one other quarterback note. And, Paul, you've got a couple others that come down the last half hour or so.
Yeah, Steve Angeli, Notre Dame transfer, will start at Syracuse. In the opening game against Tennessee, it'll be guys who transferred after spring, Joey Aguilar and Steve Angeli. Will both be starting that game. Cal, a guy I was really curious to see was Devin Brown from Ohio State, mostly because he wears a number in the 20s, but that he had transferred to Cal. I thought this would be his time to start after 4 years at Ohio State, winning a national title and just never being the starter. Well, he lost out to true freshman Jaron Kiwe Sagopulete, and he's a big stud. He was a nice big grab in recruiting, 4 or 5 star guy, depending on the service, for Justin Wilcox. He is now the starter, a true freshman at Cal. And what I think is the best story of the day, North Texas redshirt freshman Drew Mestemaker, who played at Austin Vandegrift and was recruited mostly as a safety and not a quarterback, walked on last year, played in the bowl game, and won the starting job over Reese Poffenbarger, who was at Albany and then Miami the last couple of years, transferred to be the starter at North Texas. But Drew Mestemaker has won the starting job for the Mean Green at North Texas.
And that came open, Craig, because Morris moved, right? Moved on.
Yeah. Chandler Morris was there.
Moved on. So, I remember him when Vandegrift played Midway. We covered a game when he was a starting quarterback for the Vipers.
Can y'all spell Jaron Kiwe Sagopuleti's name?
I just had it in front of me, so
J-A-R-O-N.
I don't think that matters, Paul. I don't think if you couldn't look back at it.
Jaron.
Well, you can't talk at the same time.
I'm sorry.
Keawe.
No, you already messed it up.
You lost me when I was trying to hear what Paul was saying. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm not allowed to be a part of this.
Trying to hear one guy at a time. That's all.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't know who you were asking about, but go ahead, Paul.
Kauwe is the first part, right? Did I get that right?
Kauwe? No.
Oh, no. Kawue.
It's Ke, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Keawe.
Oh, okay. There you go. Okay.
And then the other part, I'm not sure. Saga is Saga Pollete.
Close. Saga Pollutale. So.
Okay. All right. Paul, say his name again.
Sagapultele. Right?
I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll learn it by, hopefully if he's any good, we'll learn that very quickly, the proper pronunciation, and we will put some respect on that name.
We recorded an interview today. It will be on about 5:25 with longtime college football writer, Hall of Fame type guy, and Ivan Mazelle, who wrote about former Notre Dame legendary head coach in Frank Lehey, who gets overlooked a lot by Newt Rockne. We bring that up. He'll join us today in the 5 o'clock hour. And Paul asked the question, is it good and a good time to have the book? Because, Notre Dame last year was right in the middle of it. They've been kind of knocking on that door, Marcus Freeman and a little bit with Brian Kelly too. And here is something Notre Dame's trying to make sure that their players don't get ahead of themselves. This is a jersey that they're wearing in practice with the lettering SAS on their sleeve. Stands for still ain't shit. That's what it represents, just to let them know that, yeah, you've done some things, but you're still not. It has been since 1988 with Lou Holtz and the Irish as the head coach winning the national championship.
Yeah, whatever keeps you humble, and you have to keep going. Don't read your news clippings until you've won the title, and even then, only read them for a little while and get back to work is kind of how you have to do it. I'm getting more and more excited for this Catholics versus convicts, though, because of stuff like this. And next up, this one, I sent this to you guys over the weekend. So Miami at I always want to say the Orange Bowl, but keep going. Go ahead and put it up. Is going to do an orange out at Hard Rock Stadium there. And the Four Horsemen podcast, I think we've had a couple of their different guys on
we have
before, but they tweeted this out of what the stadium will look like. But Catholics versus convicts, let's lean into it. I'm pretty excited for that one to lead off the year.
You couldn't wait to use that one, could you? Florida State, Paul?
And look, I when I interviewed Chuck Todd last month, he's a Miami guy. I will say this. I think that both FSU and Miami respect each other in a way of they don't like each other. We don't like each other, but we respect each other, and we both equally agree that Florida's annoying.
Yeah, Notre Dame, they don't like Miami in any particular way, and or Miami. Craig, Miami and the orange out. And then this Cam Newton is going to have his jersey, number 2 jersey at Auburn, retired on October the 11th. And when they play at Jordan-Hare Stadium, Auburn and Cam Newton will be forever. No one else will ever. I saw the video. They walked in, I think it was the AD, et cetera, to tell him that. And no one will wear the Cam Newton jersey number in the jersey ever again.
Yeah, it's a game against Georgia, so a pretty huge weekend there for Auburn and hosting the Bulldogs, retiring Cam Newton's jersey. I'm not the biggest consumer of Cam Newton's post-career stuff. Like, I see little media stuff here and there. It's just not really my flavor, but I do know that he's a guy who was one of the greatest college football players that I've ever seen, and that's what will always stick with me about Cam Newton. Like, what an incredible player he was, that special year that he had at Auburn, the year at Blinn when he just probably felt like he was playing on the playground a lot of times, even though there's great players in JUCO. But Blinn just is such a strong program. You think of Cam Newton playing at the junior college level, it's just kind of crazy, even with all of the talented guys that trickle down there. But, I mean, yeah, he won it at the college level in a major way and just had a really short career ultimately, which is really what I guess would be the downside to that is because of the transfer from Florida and the year in JUCO. Like, we didn't get to see a couple, 2-3 years of Cam Newton and what he could have probably put up, which would have been even more insane. But what we did get was great. certainly a deserving honor. Certainly a huge personality and a really popular guy and just a great football player. So, yeah, not surprised. And Auburn has a really big game out of the gates. We'll see where they are by October 11th. But obviously there's a lot of pressure on this season. And if they start off well and get to October 11th, I mean, just imagine how crazy this could be. It's going to be crazy either way. You're hosting Georgia. It's a big SEC game. But if you're also pretty good on top of that, it could make this one wild-ass weekend.
So he played at Blinn, as you mentioned, because he was no longer allowed to play at Florida. So he goes to Blinn, wins the national title, plays at the Rose Stadium, in Tyler. And that was I just sat up in the stands. I don't ever get the chance to do that. And he was a man among boys, no question.
I wonder, if he doesn't get in trouble for stealing the laptop and throwing it out the window at Florida and stays there, does Urban Meyer ever have health problems?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Until the next thing that he would have inevitably found himself in the middle of.
Would those have maybe staved off for a little bit because he had Cam Newton to replace Tim Tebow?
No, he would have had an unbelievable run.
Yeah.
You never know. Sometimes he still might just can't help himself.
But
you never know.
Look, as perfect as Cam Newton was for Gus Malzahn's offense at Auburn when he was there, he was as perfect for Dan Mullen following up Tim Tebow. As a matter of fact, I mean, he would have been the evolution in it because, Tebow, as great of a player as he was more of a running threat than a passing threat. And Cam Newton, far, far better passer than Tim Tebow. I wonder what those teams would have been like had he been there.
No, I agree. He's a phenomenal player. He's now a podcaster and an entertainer. We've seen him at the Super Bowls on Radio Row.
Fashion
icon and more. So there we are. Congratulations, Cam Newton. His number is being retired. He won the national title at Blinn and then, of course, won the national title at Auburn, too. Is that it, Brandon? We got it. Nice to see you, Brandon. Garrett Ross is off throughout the week. We have been able to sedate Brandon a little bit as he's doing everything. No Garrett in the studio. He's out. Of course, Andrew Valade is here putting up all the amazing stuff he does when it comes to the content. Mack Brown will join us today at 4. He and Vince Young will be in Waco tomorrow at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. We will also have Cam Teague. He covers Ohio State and the Julian Sayin, being named QB1. Also, we'll have Ivan Mazelle. I mentioned that. And Hall of Fame wide receiver David Williams. He played at Illinois. He is a part of the College Football Hall of Fame. And we have a relationship with the National Football Foundation, thanks to Phil Marwell, who's sent and given me all sorts of contact information with Hall of Fame players who are a part of their weekly Super 16 poll. So we'll have David Williams today and his thoughts about the Illini, Brett Bielema, and also college football. This is 365 Sports. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. Dr. Petty can help you find out if a lot of what you're dealing with, you don't have the same energy, your sex drive is down, just don't feel right. It could be your testosterone level has dropped. 1 out of every 3 to 4 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. So reach out to him at PettyClinicLowT.com. Tell him I sent you. He will then get in touch with you, set you up to get your blood work, take care of that, get the results, and if your testosterone level is too low, he can put you in a program or give you that option to increase your testosterone level so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be at PettyClinicLowT.com.
This is my go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery for my G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Big savings are waiting at Allen Samuels in Waco during the Make This the Summer event. Check out the all-new Jeeps that are arriving daily. Drive off in a 2025 Jeep Wrangler Sport for just $29,990. Or grab a new Jeep Compass Latitude for only $26,700. The road and trails are calling, and ramp up your summer in style with the Make This the Summer event at Allen Samuels.
Come by, let's be friends.
I'll never get used to this.
it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Make this the summer event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, where big plans start with the perfect ride at great deals. From weekend getaways to daily drives, your next new truck, SUV, or car is waiting.
Come by. Let's be friends.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Ooh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels.
We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
So earlier in the show, we mentioned the discussion over the weekend that kind of got everybody kind of buzzing a little bit. Chat room, you have been back and forth on it. Everybody has their way of what they'd like to see when it comes to how they decide a national champion. The FCS has been doing it a certain way forever. So has Division II, Division III, junior college, everybody, basketball, name it. They just kind of hasn't been that hard, even though some want to increase it with more teams. But in FBS and football, they have debated on how many is too many. Is it 2? Is it 4? Is it 12? And now 16, and what now might be even more. Sam Kahn said, listen, theathletic.com, he'll join the show Thursday. If we're going to do it the way that they say they want 24 teams, this is what it would look like from basically, this is Chris Fanini from the Athletic ranking teams 1 through 136, which I could not imagine doing, but they did. Others have done this as well. This is what an expanded college football playoff idea would look like if they used the model that has worked forever with the FCS. And those are the teams, championship teams, 1 through 8 with the byes, including Oregon, Georgia, as the Big Ten and SEC champions.
Yeah, so the crux of this is that every conference champion gets in, okay? So, and then there are at-large bids. So, look, if you look at the at-large bids right there, it's Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Tennessee, Indiana from last year. SMU would have been an at-large bid. Miami would have been an at-large bid. Ole Miss would have been an at-large bid. South Carolina, all those teams last year that were upset about, not being in this scenario would be in, and every conference would have a shot at the title, as we're right now, they don't.
You have one group of 5 or 6 now.
Yeah.
And so they have Army, Marshall, Ohio, Jacksonville State as championships, conference champions who would at least be in the field, although no matter who they play, they would be in the field. Well, they don't have that chance unless Boise State, for example, who's at the very top of the number 9 seed, got in last year.
Yeah. So, there you have all of that there. And, that to me, if you're going to go to that, I'd rather them do this than anything else. It would probably keep the conference championships intact as well. But if you're going to do this, do that. But if not, then keep it at 12. It's fine at 12. Don't go past 16. If you go past 16, then you have to do it this way. Or if you go to 16, maybe do it this way, and some conferences won't get in, but still, gosh.
And this is Sam saying, okay, if you're going to do 24, you're going to do it the way the FCS does it. This is how simple, although a lot of the at-large bids will be interesting, this is how you do it.
So Tony Petitti got what he wanted. We're talking about this expanded playoff, right? The first week of the season. He's
for the top 8 would be Big Ten.
He's got us talking about his idea, even though, we're trying to turn the page here. So I think it's cool to at least see what it looked like. I mean, I was curious about that. I'm not going to entertain the idea much further at this time, but at least on the surface, looking at it and what it could be is kind of cool just to see. But I mean, guys, this is never happening. It's never happening. Like, there's no way in hell they're allowing a combination of Army, Marshall, Ohio, and Jacksonville State into this playoff. That's just never going to happen. So it's a great idea. It's fun to look at. I just see those bottom teams and I go, there's no way that the SEC or the Big Ten will not allow that to be 2 or 3 more of their teams. I don't believe that. So if it was this way, that'd be really cool. And I'm not, Boise's up there at the top as well, and they've got some cachet, but it's a cool idea. It really is a cool idea. If it was done just this way, I'd maybe just sign right away off on it, because I'm like, well, you know what? I don't know about having all these extra games, but the fact that you're going to let Jacksonville State at least try to play Missouri and see what they can do, like, okay, cool. But I think that's a non-starter for the people involved that need to make these decisions. But that would be the way to go. Yeah, if you're going to go as big as they are trying to go.
So in that scenario, and I may miss one here, the SEC would actually have 7.
Yeah.
The Big Ten has 5. The Big 12 would have 3, Arizona State, Iowa State, and BYU.
It's also, they're not going to go for 5.
Yeah.
So that's an absolute
non-starter. Well, the Big
non-starter.
Ten's not. Yeah, absolutely. Wait a minute. The SEC might get 7. And then, of course, we mentioned the non-Power 4 conferences with Boise State and the 21, 22, 23, and also 24.
There's no Big 12 team in the first round bye?
No, they're not even. Their first-ranked team is 12th.
Okay, so that's, based on I guess, that's the way it would have worked out last year. But Arizona State, BYU, Iowa State. So in an expanded field, the biggest that we've offered so far, you're looking at 3 teams. So you can see why saying, hey, 5 automatics. So again, going back to this idea. So if they're getting 5, and the ACC is getting 5, and the SEC is getting 7.
ACC is getting 3.
The ACC is getting 3?
Yeah. 3.
Well, not in the
proposed
deal.
Oh,
no. Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, cause that's what I'm saying is, like, there's 2 more Big 12 teams you would have to add just to meet the quota, which that'd be great for them, but they're clearly gambling on themselves, and you just never get this passed by the people that would need to pass it. But it's a fun thing to look at.
It is. It's fun. Again, the Big Ten would have less than the SEC by a couple. The ACC would have 3. Notre Dame's an independent. And the group of 5, now think about this. Among this scenario that Sam says, okay, you're going to do it like the FCS. 5, the group of 5 or 6 would have as many teams in the playoff as everybody else or more other than the SEC. But at least he's putting the scenario together. He'll be on with you guys Thursday to be able to talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, look, that would be the common sense scenario, but the common sense scenario has not really ever been what would happen if you're going to do this, and it's not common sense anyway to expand it this much.
Well, it's not even common sense necessarily, depending on who you ask, to include all these teams from all these other conferences either. Like, if you ask your average Big Ten fan, they don't care about Jacksonville State or Ohio making the tournament. They'd rather see Iowa or Wisconsin or something like that in the tournament. I saw countless little back and forth on the automatic qualifiers and how some leagues should just take what they're offered because that's the most they'll ever get. And while that might be true, it's the whole perception thing. But a lot of these football fans now, guys, they don't care. They're not trying to be fair. They're not trying to look out for Army. They're not like the people who just love the fabric of the game and what it is and what it's always been and that kind of jazz. Like, yeah, they're all for that. The people that buy the T-shirts of everybody from home field or whatever, right? Like those are the people that, like Creighton basketball, we want everybody to be good, everybody to be treated fairly. But there's also a segment of people who are your more casual fans or just your fans of big schools that do not give a damn about Marshall getting a shot at the playoff and whether that's fair or not. So that's the unfortunate reality. And I think most of those people are probably the ones calling the shots ultimately, because how much money is Marshall bringing to the table, for example, or a 5th Big 12 team or a 6th ACC team or what have you. So, not trying to be Debbie Downer. It's just totally unrealistic.
You're being the dragon. You're calling it like it is. There's nothing wrong with that. All the wet blanket earlier when you were not wanting to ask me to spell that guy's name said you need to be nicer to me. That's just letting you know.
No, I can't hear two people spell something at the same time. That was the whole point of me saying one at a time, please.
Paul, start spelling something.
We were trying to harmonize.
But you were one guy's going Jaro, other guy's going Jarr, and I'm just trying to hear it. But I get it.
Wet blanket and I have gone from enemies to very, very good friends. Now, Mack Brown around the corner, we'll have him. They're going to be in tomorrow. There'll be a luncheon at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame to celebrate, of course, that 2005 national championship team. Anything else for that you want to talk about? Because I'm done with it.
Are we sure? Are we done with the playoff now? We done with the playoff?
We are until somebody else brings up another model.
It's football season. Here is our hour on the playoffs format, but that's just what that Tony Petitti threw it out there, and he knew what was going to happen. I think, like what I just said, I'm just somebody who deals in reality, whether that's brutal or not. And so I look at that and I can understand having some fun with it, but just you're asking my opinion on it. Just the first thing that comes to mind is that's never going to happen for the reasons that I laid out already. Would it be fun? Yes. But another part that I didn't mention is the countless people. You can go look right now and several replies to this very idea of calling how many blowouts there would be and how, I mean, y'all remember how many bitching there was about the expanded playoff last year? Can you imagine?
Of Indiana, Notre Dame, they were bitching.
And not just that, but the fan of the 7th place SEC team who is convinced that they would crush every team in their path except for the SEC teams in front of them. Like, no chance that anybody could not get boat raced by them. You're not going to convince people otherwise on that, but that's also negative pushback on the idea of including some not so traditional big names, is this automatic assumption that it's just going to be blowout territory. And unfortunately, everybody's now playing TV network executive like, we need competitive games. Yes, for you to watch, but you're also now playing TV executives, a weird thing I find people doing nowadays. They don't want to be a college football fan and just go like, that'd be cool. They're like, well, the network can't do that. By golly.
What I think is interesting is when you see Jim Williams, Bob Thompson, Patrick Crakes, and others who have been in the network business, even though things have changed, trying to explain things, and people are like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. They've been in the boardrooms. Hey, so there we are. Until we, I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I hope to God that they can just make it up. That's one less thing. The House settlement was supposed to, no, that's still got a lot of different problems. God bless Iowa State, Kansas State, and others playing on Saturday. When we come back, former Texas Hall of Fame head coach Mack Brown, the luncheon tomorrow in Waco with his star and maybe as good as anyone has ever played the quarterback position in Vince Young, and more. And this is 365 Sports. The Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco. Man, I've gotten to really enjoy the ideas of their general manager in Nick Colwell. And what they have is, they've got a concert coming up this weekend, and then they have a week from Friday, the Auburn game against Baylor inside of McLean Stadium. But there's so much more than that. The dining experience is just absolutely phenomenal, and the food is amazing. The top chefs are fantastic at what they do. The views from inside the stadium, whether it's during the day and or at night, when you can look up and down I-35 and, of course, the Brazos River, it's pretty cool. But they got business to do. They're continuing to kind of wrap up some of the renovations. I went in to meet Nick about 3 weeks ago, and you could see some temporary, like, what do they call those walls that they slide out to kind of give, this is where we're going to have lunches for now. And they're redoing a lot to make it even better. That's one of the things he's brought to the table. And their game day atmosphere is fantastic at the Baylor Club. Tell them 365 Sports sent you off I-35 in Waco.
Big savings are waiting at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive off in a 2025 Jeep Wrangler Sport for just $29,990, or grab a new Jeep Compass Latitude for only $26,700. The road and trails are calling. And wrap up your summer in style with the Make This the Summer event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions, IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend's Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
2005 National Championship, Texas Longhorns, Vince Young and head coach, Hall of Famers Mack Brown will be tomorrow in Waco at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. Call him back if you could. Something happened there. At the Lone Star Luncheon. It'll be tomorrow from 11:30 until 1 at off University Parks at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. And Mack Brown joins Craig and Paul, David Smoak on 365 Sports. I would think, other than just like anything else that you've done, talking about 2005 Texas is one of your favorite topics.
Well, David, it has to be. When the game was over, I asked Coach Royal to come out in the middle of the field and accept the trophies with me, and he sent word through Bill Little, an all-time friend of ours, that we lost. And Bill said, "No, Coach said, this is your time. You need to enjoy this." And then the next day, I took Coach with me. They give you about 6 national championship trophies, which I didn't know. And I said, "Coach, what does this mean?" He said, "Coach, not many people get to do this." And he said, and the ones that get to play in this game, half of them lose. So you should really, really enjoy this moment. So I don't think you appreciate it at the time, But as time goes on, you really realize that not many people get to experience it.
Coach, you had Vince Young at the quarterback, and you had this team that you'd built over several years that it kind of culminated in this. But for Vince in particular, his story was pretty unique in that in Texas that year recruiting, it was him and Reggie McNeil and whoever you thought, like, there was a dividing line, like Republicans and Democrats over who everybody thought was better. And you got Vince. What was the key to you guys locking up Vince and starting his development?
I think the key, because Reggie was really a good player as well. In fact, a great player. The key for us was making sure that we didn't have a Greg Davis offense or a Mack Brown offense or a Texas offense. We did what was best for Vince Young. And we did that. We started going no huddle. We started spreading people out. He could run it. He could throw it. So he was just a special player. And when you've got Cedric Benson in the backfield or Selvin Young and Jamal Charles, and then you've got Vince, everybody else better look out. Because when one of those two can touch it every time, you've got a chance to make plays. When I worked for Coach Switzer, he said, don't ever hand it or pitch it to a guy that can't score. and on that team, we could give it to about anybody, and they had a chance to score.
Coach, what's it like to be, now on the part of life where you're reflecting and looking back on all these great achievements and kind of experiencing, these Hall of Fame inductions and just seeing all your former players now in their 30s and 40s and whatnot? Just kind of what's that whole life experience like from your point of view?
It's really fun. It's rewarding. When Coach Royal got sick and he went in his home when he was struggling with dementia some. It was really interesting. He didn't realize that he didn't remember the stadium was named after him. He didn't remember that he'd won 3 national championships. He didn't realize that he'd won all those games at Texas, but he knew every ex-player's name that walked in that room. And it taught me that your career is about relationships. And what a coach is supposed to do, Billy Graham said, a coach will touch more lives and change more lives in a year than the average person does in a lifetime. So when you look back and you've got the Hall of Fame and you've got a national championship, you've got these things, all of them should be about the players that played and the coaches that coached. And I went to practice Texas scrimmage on Saturday and saw 6-8 of the ex-players, and it's so much fun just to see them with their kids and their families. And I was talking to both Shipleys and said, I don't know if I'm going to be coaching or not, but I'm going to offer those kids because I know your kids can run and they can catch. So I'll go ahead and put an offer in now. I know they're 8. I know they're 9. I don't even know if I'll be alive by then, but we're going to go. We'll project here and look forward. But relationships is what really makes this thing fun and makes it worth it, and especially with reflection.
Mack, when did you know you had the keen eye and the ability to recognize talent of young football players?
I was lucky, David, that I was raised by a grandfather that was the winningest high school football coach in Middle Tennessee history. The high school stadium's named after him, and then he was the superintendent. So I was with him all the time, and I just watched him and learned from him. And he would say things like, always do what you know is the right thing to do. And if you have to wonder or ask, it's not the right thing to do, so don't do it. And don't worry about who's mad about it, because in the long run, it's the best thing. Short term, they may get mad. Long term, they'll understand. He would say things like, you got to have fun. Don't have a job where you have to work and not enjoy it, because then it's work.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, if you're doing something you enjoy, you'll be better at it. And it's something you can do for the rest of your life and have fun doing it. And as a 4 and 5 year old, my brother Watson and I, he was a year older than I, we were riding the school bus to games with my granddad. We were at every practice. We were watching. So I really felt like, and in the summer, since he was superintendent of schools, I was working the recreation program. So I was cutting grass and working baseball fields. Then I started coaching Little League baseball when I was a Babe Ruth player. And then as I got a little bit older, I coached Babe Ruth baseball. And then I coached Connie Mack baseball. So I think, David, the biggest thing is I've never done anything else.
Yeah. It just basically just marinated in is just soaked into your blood, right?
Well, it is. It's a lifestyle. And that's one thing that coaches always coach. I remember when I left Texas and I talked to Dick Vermeil, and he stayed out 16 years, went to TV, and then he came back and won a Super Bowl. And he said, coaches coach. Don't ever say you won't coach again, because you'll probably be a liar. And I would have been, if I had said in 2013 I would never coach again, I would have been a liar. So it's just one of those things when you talk to coaches that are out, they say, I missed this. I don't miss that. But when you coach, that's just who you are. That's part of your DNA. Coaches coach. And that's what you do. Phil Mickelson's a dear friend, and Phil was talking about, I think when I get old enough to be on the senior tour, I don't think I'll do that. And I said, no, golfers golf.
Mm-hmm.
Coaches coach. You do what you do. So that's kind of who we are.
Your building of that team and really started from the time you took over, when you got the job, you started up front. And that's where almost every great team gets built, is you build it from the front back, you build that depth. How quickly did you realize that it was going to be, it's tougher to get those guys sometimes than it is to get the quarterbacks?
It really is. You've got to get the right quarterback, because he touches it every time. But unless you've got the proper lines of scrimmage, you're not going to win. And Chance Smoak was a great quarterback. He had thrown 17 touchdowns and 1 interception, but he wasn't the athlete and couldn't run like Vince. And we had a young offensive line when Vince came in. So we had to put Vince in for his running ability and then let him catch up with the passing ability, because Chance was a really good player if we had had an older offensive line that could have protected him. And then those guys that ended up, 4 of them started in the NFL, and the 5th one in that Michigan and USC Rose Bowl. Will Allen made a camp. So those were really, really good football players on offense, and all those defensive linemen, they all played in the NFL. In fact, I was told, and we'd have to check it, that there were 98 players in that game with us and USC that ended up on an NFL team.
Good Lord, yeah.
I'm just looking at I was looking at your roster right now. And before I even scroll over to the defensive side, I would say you could get pretty close to that number between those two.
Yeah.
Because I haven't even gotten to the defensive linemen yet and gone down some of the guys who didn't play on that team in the game, but were with you on that roster.
Well, I saw Jamal Charles and Brian Arakpo out playing golf 2 days ago, and they both look like they can still play. and they were on that team. I said Ramon Taylor and Jamal Charles made USC look slow, and that's hard to do.
Yeah, no kidding. Man, did they ever.
So, Coach, I saw you were out at UT practice, I guess it was a day or so ago, and obviously the big headline talking point outside of just the team being so close these past couple of years is the new starting quarterback. I was just wondering, I know it's a totally different era with social media and everything that comes with that, but do you see any parallels in Chris Sims and all of the, I guess, expectation that he had, son of a NFL quarterback, and that versus kind of what Arch is looking at, not with his father, but with his uncles and all that comes with that?
Well, I do. And I see some with Vince. You know, Vince was a very highly recruited quarterback, and his expectations got so high, and he lost 2 games the first year he really started, and then he won 30 straight. So he got it all off his back. But it's been interesting. Vince and I are doing a podcast together, and it's been a lot of fun to say Bob Ballew's the host, and he said, Mac, what do you think about the pressure on Arch Manning? And I said, ask Vince. He lived it. I mean, he can tell you exactly what the pressure was. But the thing that I'm impressed so much with about Arch is his ability to run. he can run, and he's big, and he's accurate, and he can throw. But for a quarterback that could run, and that's what Colt could do, and that's what Vince could do, and they both put us in national championship contention. One won it, and the other one got hurt, or we probably would have won it. But that's the thing, and Texas has got 4 new offensive linemen, like when Vince came in. But to have the ability to run at quarterback makes everything else easier. They can't play man coverage because if they run off with everybody, you can take off and run. You got to have somebody keying the quarterback. You got to have somebody ghosting the quarterback. So that's what I see. And I recruited Eli and Peyton. So I looked at both of them as quarterbacks. Arch runs better than they do. And he runs more like his granddad. And they were pocket passers, and Arch can throw. But he can bring it down run. And it also helps you on goal line situations when you have the ability to run at quarterback.
Mack, has today's college football landscape made coaches who love to coach, who love the profession, who love to help young people get better, has it made it or becoming more of a job?
David, the coaches with money, it really hadn't changed. Because if you got enough money, you're paying all of them. And you don't have problems in your locker room because everybody's getting paid. You don't have guys transferring because everybody's getting paid. So you're still coaching the same way. The schools without money are where it's harder for the coaches, and especially the group of 5. But even some on the lower end of the power 4 group, because when you start looking at the App States, and I talked to Major Applewhite, South Alabama's, they lose all their starters because there are people on recruiting staffs now who are just looking at other teams to see where the great players are and where can we take them off their team. So they're more like feeder systems right now, and that makes it really, really difficult. When you recruit a great one and he's playing really well, you know you're going to lose it. And that's just part of it.
Does that hit home to you because you've been at those places, Southern Miss, Memphis, Appalachian State, as you mentioned, Tulane, because you've been there before? Is that kind of not take part of it out of your heart, but does that bother you a little bit?
Well, it does, but I think that's why we've got to figure it out for everybody. What's best for the game? What's best for the kids? And then that'll be what's best for the fans, because we've got to keep a competitive balance. So if we're going to play only the ones that have all the money because they're going to have the best players, let them have a league, that's fine. Then let's find a competitive league for the other group. And I've already said in my mind, I've done this for about 10 years, I would take the group of 5 teams and I would let them play for their own national championship, like FCS does. I would also let them have a Heisman Trophy winner and a Butkus Award winner and a Nagurski Award winner and Thorpe Award winner, and you might change the names, but I would let them do it because as we give more money to the elites, that's going to keep the group of 5s, that's going to separate the talent more, the talent level more. And that's going to give them even less chance to get in the national championship race. And right now you're trying, if you're in the group of 5, to be one of the only team to get in the playoff without very good chance to win. So I think that's the biggest thing is why don't we let them all of them have a chance to win? And we would watch those games. We'll watch great football games regardless of who they're against. And then you start talking about the bowl games. I'm getting ready to speak tonight to the Independence Bowl kickoff. What do we do with the bowl games? I'd like to see us keep them involved. If you want to make teams play better, but get them involved with the playoffs more. And then the upper level of Power 4 teams that are maybe you got to win 7, maybe you got to win 8 to be in a bowl. But let's watch some great bowl games and have the NIL set up where the guys are required to play in the bowl games to get their money, and then have a playoff with a group of 5. We could make this thing where it's more a competitive balance and still be fun.
Totally agree with you, Mack. There's more answers than the ones that we've maybe been given by a lot of the powers that be so far. It's just going to take a lot of thinking to it. I have a question about kind of coaching intuition. I'm curious from your perspective as a guy who's had so much success. Were there games I'm sure there were games in your coaching career where you knew before you kicked off that you were probably going to win that game, no matter who you were playing, because of the preparation and how it looked and all that. You had that feeling. Did you ever have that, or did you have more of the opposite feeling where you were not comfortable with the week of preparation, just felt like, man, I don't know if this one's going to be our day?
Yeah, coaches are more miserable when they think that it's easy, because everybody thinks, you're going to win this one, don't worry about it. And about the time you think you're not worried about it, then that means your players aren't worried about it, and they don't have an edge. And your job as the coach is to make sure every day in practice and every game that you create an edge. And when you get in a game where the fans don't have an edge, the media don't have an edge for you, then you've really got to overcome it to get that edge, man. And it is hard to do, because they're listening to the media, they're listening to social media, they're listening to their families. Dad says, hey, I may not come to that one. You're going to kill them. And the other bunch is hearing all that too. Mm-hmm. When you're playing somebody as good or better than you are, turn it loose, man. I mean, those are the ones you love to play in and coach in, because you got to do a great job of coaching to win those games. But I didn't enjoy the ones that you're just supposed to win and nobody was interested very much as you go in the stadium. Those always drove me nuts. So I was a screamer those weeks. I was mad at the coaches. I was mad at everybody, because they understood they better get ready to go.
I know the Texas OU game is unique because it's a neutral, the Cotton Bowl, et cetera. But, Mack, am I right that it seemed like when you were at Texas, underdog or at least a game that was big, it seemed like some of your greatest wins were on the road. Am I right?
Yes, and you had to have more confidence on the road. It was you against the world. You had to get that edge. You had to get the chip on the shoulder to go on the road. A lot of our wins on the road were late, and that's what I was so proud of. Even the national championship game, we were down by 12 points with 6 minutes and 42 seconds left in the game. But your team, we worked on 1 minute all the time to make sure we could come back at the end of games. But also, you've got to make sure that you've got good body language, you've got great confidence, and that your team feels that and sees that to win on the road. And we used to have a thing in that fourth quarter. If you're looking up in those stands and you're seeing their back, leaving the stadium, you're doing your job, man. If everybody's still in there, we got some problems. So we got to fix it.
Yeah.
But I loved road games because it was you against the world. And at Texas, you travel well. So our fans bought every ticket that was available when we would go on the road. And even when Baylor wasn't very good and we were winning, we'd fill that stadium. And we had great fans everywhere.
Mack, to that end, when we were still working at the radio station, we had a cluster of radio stations, and we picked up I guess it was the first year Smokey came, we picked up the Longhorns on one of our affiliates, and we ran your coach's show. And on that show, the week that you played Baylor, you said, we love going to Waco because a lot of our, but you said that. I want you to know how much I had never heard from coaches on the other team the week of before that. When you said that on the show, assistant coaches were ringing on my phone. I didn't even have their numbers in there. And they're like, hey, did Mack really just say that? And I said, well, yeah, he did. I mean, I've got the recording. You want to hear it? And they were incensed, and it added a level of flavor to that week's game in particular that I kind of really enjoyed. You kind of got in their dome that week.
Well, I like facts, and those were facts. And they were going to play as hard as they could play against us anyway. They were just looking for something to be mad about that was more tangible. So that was it. But it was facts.
Yeah.
I mean, you look up and see all that burnt orange, and that's what they should have handled that, not me.
All right, we got to go, and I know you do too because of the dinner you're going to tonight for the Independence Bowl. I've been to there. I've covered that game a handful of times. What was it like at the concert for the flood victims?
That's a great question. As a guy who, Sally and I have grown up around young people and just watching their lives and watching them grow. And we lost Cole Pittman to a truck accident in 2001, and I'm back in his hometown tonight. So that's emotional for me. We lost a player last year to cancer. at North Carolina that at 23 years old, and it's just heartbreaking to think he'll never get married. He did graduate from college, but there's so many things in his life that I've been able to do that he won't be able to do. And sitting there last night with all of those wonderful musicians who gave their time to try to help raise money for the flood victims, and to sit there and try to figure it out. Matthew McConaughey did a great job of starting the night, just talking about, it's confusing. We're here. We're trying to help recovery. We're trying to help mental health. But you can't give back some of the things that people lost. They lost children. They lost family members. And just sitting there, I cried most of the night. It's so weird. So you smile, you'd see beautiful songs, you'd see people cheering and pulling for each other. And I think more than anything else, it was a typical Texas night when Texans need to rally. It wasn't about Baylor and Texas Tech, and it wasn't about TCU. It reminded me some of even the bonfire at A&M when everybody pulled together for the families of those that lost children. And that's what I felt like last night was. I've got 6 grandkids that I love dearly. We've got 4 children, and I just can't imagine. I had to quit watching the news reports after the floods, and there were a lot of the same in North Carolina the year before. So it's around our place up there. It was very similar to losing a lot of people and losing homes, and we just got to make sure that all of us. I told the group when I got up there last night, our purpose all of us can bring prayer. So think about and pray for those families who have either lost people, lost their homes, lost kids, or people are sick or hurt. We can do that. We can all pray that we can give them some peace and help them get back toward recovery. And then if you've got a little money and you can give it to them, that'll help. If you got a lot of money, let's try to help everybody get back on track, because I did learn last year when we lost our player, if you're healthy and your family's healthy and your really good friends are healthy, you've got no problems. Because if somebody calls you and says your wife's got 4 months to live, you drop all your problems. So we need to be grateful every day when we're healthy and people that we love are healthy, because if we've got that, we can work through the rest of it, and we can figure the rest of it out. But that's where we've got to take care of each other, and that's what last night was about.
Good luck with the discussion and speech tonight, and obviously that's all what you said. Amazing. We'll see you tomorrow at the luncheon. Mack, we appreciate it. I know your schedule is packed, and appreciate any time you respond to me. Thank you very much for being a part of the show today, and have a great day.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you, David, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Mack Brown.
Bye-bye.
With us on 365 Sports. He's in Shreveport for the Independence Bowl, kind of the kickoff to the football season. And then, as he mentions later on tonight, Cole Pittman at his hometown, and then tomorrow in Waco. Great guy. He and his football teams have put some absolute pain in my college football life as a Nebraska fan. And he said on the road, late in games, they did it all the time. And the game in Ohio State, when they won the national title, is where they start this year with Arch. Great comment on Arch Manning, Craig. Great question, and I loved his answer.
Yeah, that was a really good answer, and he's always a really good guest. And he caused me some pain here and there. I think but not nearly as much as I think the other way around. Not that I take credit for any Oklahoma wins or anything like that, but he. With that last win, when he was basically on his way out the door and they beat Oklahoma, that was the one that I think bothered me more than anything. It was like he had no business winning that game, but it was just one of those, like, it's the last time, and you just magic happens, I
remember that one being like, Oklahoma's gonna figure this out, right? Like they're a better team. Like Mack is, this is this team is this way for like, you've got it. And then they just never did. And then part of that is when you have a coach like Mack, like you can never count a team out. Right.
No. Absolutely.
And I still vividly remember where I was, probably like most people, the 2005 national championship, and just the conversations that were happening. I mean, can y'all imagine that game now in 2025 with Twitter and
with social media and stuff?
All of that going on? I mean,
think
there was enough.
Twitter would implode.
Yeah, there was enough talking going on as is, but just all in person, basically. So, that was a different time period, but that's a type of game with that type of superstar appeal and big brands and all of that. I mean, that was about as big as it could get, and then the game actually ended up being as much, if not much greater than anybody could have ever predicted. So, yeah, that's the key achievement. But he also, as he talked about, did a lot of good off the field and still does, and cool that he's getting to celebrate all these great memories now in retirement with his players and seeing guys in the Hall of Fame or being inducted into Hall of Fame himself. And just kind of, that's why I asked him about that early on. It's just kind of a different place now, but you get to kind of soak it all up in a way, right? You're not like, I got to go recruit. I got to go visit this quarterback. He wants 150,000. It's like, now you can just sit back and look at your achievements. And I know there's probably still party that wants to be coaching as well, but this is your career milestones all like being celebrated like they're going to be at the Hall of Fame. I just think that's a very cool place to be.
11:30 to 1 tomorrow at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. Our good friend Bruce Geetson, who I play golf with quite a bit, part of lining up that luncheon tomorrow, and some of the other bigger names that they seem to always find a way to be in Waco and elsewhere around the state to celebrate the history. And again, 11:30 to 1 tomorrow at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. Somebody just mentioned Casey Keeler, Temple football coach. He's on with us tomorrow, early on in the show. And Barry Odom, Purdue football coach, will join us, a friend of the show, on Wednesday's show. So just a couple of notes on that. This is 365 Sports.
Allen Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget, from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Allen Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560, or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
Open the show by mentioning Iowa State, Kansas State. Farmageddon, 22 against 17. top 25 teams in Dublin, Ireland, as they've had that annual game from Northwestern, Nebraska to Florida State last year against Georgia Tech, and now the Iowa State-Kansas State game. And also, as Craig mentioned earlier, KU playing as well Saturday at home against Fresno State. Let's discuss a little bit of Iowa State and Kansas State. Both teams are they mirror images of each other in certain ways?
They are very similar. They're built very similar in that they are, tough up front, defense first, run game first, very physical teams, coaches who came out of the FCS, Matt Campbell came from Mount Union, so he's even Division III. So guys who came from the small Midwestern, those kind of schools, they built up through that. I would say the biggest difference is the overall athleticism of the quarterback. Like Avery Johnson is an athlete over an athlete. Rocco Becht is not a bad athlete, but if they were going to do a decathlon, Avery Johnson probably wins. But that's not what they're doing in Ireland on Saturday. But I do think this game is going to come down to who screws up the least. Like who makes, as I think these teams are so very evenly matched that it's going to come down to who makes a big play and who makes the big mistake.
Yeah, they have a lot in common. I mean, they're both land grant schools, ag-based schools, Midwestern schools. There's a lot of similarities off the field and on the field. K-State with a slightly bit more taste of success with conference titles and things of that nature. But Iowa State's knocking on the door, boys. I mean, they knocked as hard as they've ever knocked a year ago, and I don't know how much people really heard them because I still feel like there's just sort of like, oh, it's Iowa State. Like, they'll be pretty solid, but not really in the conversation as far as a title contender. I think there's a better than zero shot these two teams rematch in the Big 12 title game at the end of the year. I think that's very possible. I don't think the team that loses this game should be penalized too much because I think when you're starting with a conference game out of the gate, especially against a respectable team within that conference, which both of these teams are, you're going all the way to Ireland for this game. It's just kind of weird circumstances and a really tough challenge out of the gate. So I'm super interested to see just how loose and ready to rock both of these sides are. But I anticipate a hell of a football game. And, yeah, I don't think there's a 0% chance that this isn't a rematch at the end of the year. I think that's quite possible, but obviously a long way to go to get there. But both quarterbacks deserve to be in the conversation amongst the best quarterbacks in the league. I think Rocco Becht doesn't get quite as much respect as Avery Johnson does, but he's a very solid player in his own right. They're both able to run the ball effectively. They both produce good skill guy. I mean, they're both very solid programs, and we've kind of outlined like 20 different things they have in common, but I think that's the excitement is going into the league this year. When you look at the Big 12 in particular, and every little preview that I've seen or every little preview I've tried to do myself, I just come back to, I have no freaking earthly idea of who's going to win this conference. And I really don't. I mean, I think that there's just so many even teams, and these are two of them. These are two of those teams that are in that upper tier of 5, 6, 7, however many you want to include, that are going to be right there in the mix, I think, from Ireland all the way up until the very end. And Iowa State got very close last year. K-State, a little bit of a disappointment, but not like a bad year by any means. I do think that there's a bit more pressure on K-State's shoulders, I think particularly on Avery Johnson's shoulders, to sort of show that he's that guy that people expect and think that he is. He's had to grow up a little bit, and he's had to take some bumps and bruises just like Rocco Becht has, but going into this one, it's got all the makings of being a really great week 1 game for sure. Or week 0 game, excuse me.
I don't care.
Week 0
opening
game.
Weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I think they're going to eventually go back to where it's just the first week of the season. The week 0 thing started, it's happened before and elsewhere. Texas high school football did that. It didn't stick either. So if I was to ask you, just without thinking too much, who had more rushing touchdowns last year, Avery Johnson or Rocco Becht?
You asking that makes me want to say Rocco Becht. Yeah.
8. Yeah. Avery Johnson had 7. Johnson had 605 yards rushing. Becht had 318. 25 touchdown passes, each of them. 1 through 10 picks, Johnson. 1 through 9. Rocco Becht threw for a lot more yardage, 3,500 and 5 yards to 27-12. But I don't hear much about the Rocco Beck as a runner. And some of those, I don't know how many of those were 1 and 2, 3 yards, but he had 8 touchdowns rushing to Avery Johnson's 7. Two coaches that mad respect, both came up the ladder, so to speak, with what Matt Campbell did and then also with what Chris Kleiman did with the great run he had at North Dakota State.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think that both of them have the opportunity, like the pressure of improving on their passing game. For Rocco Beck, it's not throwing the pick sixes. For Avery Johnson, I mean, obviously, like everybody doesn't want to do that. He'd have as many as Rocco did last year, but it is, are you a quarterback or are you an athlete who plays quarterback? I think that's the pressure that he is under. And, reports are good on both of them, coming through and being better. I have no reason to expect that they're both not, better than they were before. They're both very similar. They're grinders. They work really hard. They're good team leaders. All of this, they've got charisma, everything you want. So I think it's going to be a really super fun quarterback battle, between these two teams on Saturday.
I got some breaking news. I want to get to it before we get to our guest, Cam Teague, who covers Ohio State. Matt Zennett's reporting that Quentin Joyner he's the transfer from USC, running back at Tech, feared to have suffered a season-ending knee injury.
Oh, man. That's
unbelievable loss. He's fantastic. He didn't have a lot of yards at USC, but he's one of those great names that they brought in the transfer portal.
He was also in a committee situation over there.
Yeah. So this is from Matt Zennett saying that Richard Johnson, college football writer, is reporting from CBS Sports that Quentin Joyner may have suffered what would be an injury, season-ending knee injury, which sucks for the Red Raiders.
Yeah.
Go ahead and follow it up. We'll get to Cam in a second.
Yeah, I think that's a huge loss for Texas Tech, potentially. We'll see. I mean, a lot of what they were projecting was a projection and not based on what he had accomplished thus far, but he's obviously a very talented player and one that they made a point to go and get in the portal, and you're losing Taj Brooks, and that leaves all sorts of uncertainty. And so here's a guy who's going to help answer that, and it felt like they seemed to think they had a very firm and strong response to losing Taj Brooks with the acquisition of Quentin Joyner. So, like I said with Dawson Pendergrass last week, and I'm sure I'm not even going to go. I'm sure there's some Tech fan that was like, ha ha, and it's just like, hey, man, it comes for everybody. The injury bug at some point or another. But, yeah, like Dawson Pendergrass last week, and who are we talking about at the start of the show? I don't know. I brought this whole anecdote up at the start of the show. We were talking about somebody else that was injured here recently.
Jam Miller.
Yeah, Jam Miller. There you go. I just hate that. It sucks. You want to see the best players play, and you want to see teams at full strength. So we had the best of the best playing against each other, and certainly Tech was expecting Quentin Joyner to be one of their better players. So that's tough news. That is.
Cam Miller, Dawson Pendergrass, and Quentin Joyner, at least for right now, thanks to the update from Matt Zenitz. He does a great job covering college football. We're now joined, Cam, thank you for being patient, from theathletic.com. He covers Ohio State Buckeyes today. They open with Texas and Columbus naming their QB1 and saying the transfer who was at Alabama for a cup of coffee. Cam, thank you very much. Was there ever a doubt that this is how it would end up, or what?
No, I appreciate you guys having me on. No, I don't think so. I think the battle between Julian and Lincoln Kienholz was pretty close for much of the spring. I think Julian really kind of took a step up in the last week and a half. I think his arm talent is there. It's pretty special. But once you kind of see him get command of the offense and put it together on a couple days in a row and then a week in a row, I think it became pretty obvious that he was the answer that Ryan Day was looking for a quarterback.
What is the biggest question that you have for this offense now that you know that Julian Sayin is definitely the quarterback to start? I mean, obviously, he and Lincoln Kienholz had the same level of experience, so it was going to be a guy who's never played before no matter what. But is that the biggest concern? Is the inexperienced quarterback, or is it replacing everything that they lost off of the offensive line, running backs, and all that from last year?
No, I think it's mainly I think it's Brian Hartline as offensive coordinator. You just don't know what they're going to look like. Like, it's Ryan Day, so Ohio State is going to look similar, but they kind of pieced back together the offensive line. I think it's probably the deepest in a very long time at Ohio State. They have a lot of receivers. They have a lot of tight ends. I think they're probably 6 deep at receiver, 3 or 4, maybe 5 deep at tight end. So for me, it's what are they going to do personnel-wise, and how are they going to make things a little bit easier when you got a freshman quarterback, you got a first-time starter at running back. How are they going to make things easier for that young backfield?
Cameron, what kind of average sort of scouting report would you give on Julian Sayin and what people can expect this year with his skill set?
Yeah, I mean, when he throws the ball, when his feet are set and he's on time, he throws a gorgeous ball. I mean, it really has a good arm, really quick release. I think that's one of the things that stood out even from his freshman year. He gets rid of the ball very fast. He processes things pretty well too for a young guy. I think you talk to people in his camp that they've talked about his ability to process defenses well, even back to his freshman year of high school. He's been kind of a step ahead of everybody since then. So I think for him, it's going to be how does he handle pressure? I mean, Texas defensive line, as you guys know, is no joke. So how will he handle pressure? And then also the pressure of the game. I mean, you're not playing an FCS team. You're not playing a Mac team week 1. It's an SEC top 3 matchup. So you want to see how he handles that pressure. But from a mechanic and truly like quarterback standpoint, I mean, he has everything you look for outside of like the prototypical size. I think he's 6'1", so he's not the 6'4" that Will Howard was last year, but I think he has all the arm talent you want.
Cam, there's no question that Ohio State, they've been as consistent, if not more so than anybody. No matter what Alabama did, of course, Ohio State has been just rolling along, including last year, or Clemson or Georgia or whoever else. So Ohio State fans expect nothing but championships. What is the feeling about this team with losing so much, which they sometimes do every year because guys go on to the NFL? What is the sense of this team?
I mean, when you're Ohio State fans demand a few things. I mean, they want you to win every game. They want you to beat Michigan. They want you to win that championship. That's just what Ohio State fans expect. Now, is that realistic every year? No. I think when you're Ohio State, your baseline is 10 wins, or 9 wins is your baseline every year. You got to get at least 9, right? You're Ohio State, you're more talented than most of the teams you're going to play. You got to win 10 likely to make the playoff every year. So I think that's what the baseline is. You want to be in the playoff, and you want to make a run. I think this team, like you said, you lost 14 NFL draft picks, but they have a lot of talent. Just because they didn't play a lot last year doesn't mean they weren't talented. You just had 14 NFL guys ahead of them. The D-line is a little bit of a question mark, mainly the depth at defensive tackle, but, I mean, they got NFL guys everywhere. It's just a matter of them getting on the field and just gaining more experience. So the expectation is the same here in Columbus. It's just a matter of the new faces are kind of moving into the big roles.
Cameron, how have you seen the vibe around Ryan Day change after the championship last year? Is there maybe a little bit of a weight lifted off his shoulders?
Yeah, I think so. I think back in the spring there was. I think now he's so. I mean, when you open the season with a top 3 opponent or number 1 team in the country, like all that weight's right back on you because you got to win the game. But I think in the spring and early in the summer, you could see he just kind of felt a little bit better. I think he's more confident. Obviously, winning that championship does that. But I think right now it's all that stress is back because you got a new team trying to go beat the number 1 team in the country on August 30th.
So Texas is obviously, they've built this under Sark and where they are. They've been knocking on the door. There was that great game with Ohio State last year until Warren forced the fumble and ran it back for the touchdown. Bang, bang game. But there's a little bit of a little feeling that Texas might have a little bit more coming back, even though they both lost a lot. What is the feeling? Is that something that's even a part of the conversation in Columbus?
I mean, I think from the fan perspective, I think every fan kind of compares position by position, and Texas, rightfully so, I think it's the number 1 team in the country because I think they have probably the best team in the country right now from position by position. But I think Ohio State in the program feels good every time they step on the field because you got Jeremiah Smith and you got Caleb Downs. So I think every time you step on the field, you feel good that you have the 2 best players in the country. Then it just matters how how do you piece everything together around them? I think they feel like they have the best group of skill position players in the country between the receivers and the tight ends. And they feel really good about their linebackers and their secondary. You kind of talk about some depth issues up front on defense, but I think Ohio State feels like they are one of the best teams in the country once again. And you get it tested very early against the Longhorns.
How do you feel about how do they feel about C.J. Donaldson and the running back group?
Yeah, I think they feel good. I think they feel, again, we talk about just pure inexperience. I don't think CJ is going to start. I think that James Peoples, who will probably start for them, they think he's going to be special. They think he could be the next superstar running back at Ohio State. And then you add in Donaldson, who will probably be the 2. And then they got some talented freshmen. Bo Jackson, the kid from Ohio, who a lot of SEC programs were after. So they feel good about what they have. Again, just new faces who haven't taken a lot of reps. So how do you get those nerves out of you early, and how do you make up for some, like what's going to be some early season mistakes because they're so young?
I would think that everybody in Columbus and attached to the university at Ohio State University, they all probably thought Michigan got hammered, right?
Right. Yeah. in air quotes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I dare you. How dare you? And slap them with a wet spaghetti noodle.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't think Ohio State fans are going to be over that for a very long time. Probably a lot of people in the country, I think. But I think, as some people have said, I think the biggest thing is, like, one, they were never going to take the title because they don't really have the power to do that. But the biggest thing is that they have now, Michigan is going to be labeled a cheater for forever because of that. And that's just what it is. So, but I think people in Columbus wanted to see more penalties hit them for sure.
Yeah, I don't think I can't remember who I asked last week. I asked one of our guests, was anybody in the Big Ten satisfied with that in any way, shape, or form? And it was no. For the other 17, everybody was really mad on that all the way around. Do you have any idea of, like, in the Big Ten, what could be done to punish a team when you get just on TV revenue alone $80 to $90 million a year that's going to hurt them?
Yeah, I do think. I think you have to think about it coming from going into a non-rev era. That $20 million and losing postseason revenue is going to hurt them. Now, you're a program like like Michigan, like, you can find donors to help with that, or you can take loans out to help with that. But I do think that money's going to hurt. It may not be the flashy way, but when you're talking about trying to build a team in a salary cap non-rev era, you need every dollar, every cent you can get. So it's just not the flashy way. Like, I think people just want to see a postseason ban. Postseason ban sounds like hammer. Fine doesn't sound like hammer. You know what I mean? So, but I do think it will hurt them in ways more than most people don't realize.
Yeah, Cam, we actually had not to say had fun with it, but almost as if Michigan, you did all this, so Western Michigan, you have been placed on 3 years of no TV probation.
Right. Yeah. Honestly. Yep.
All right. Hey, man, thank you very much. Jeremiah Smith and Downs, Caleb Downs, and so many others. What a roster they do have. What a game. What an absolutely amazing game at the Horseshoe coming up, not this weekend, but next. Cam, thank you very much for your time and jumping on with us.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Cam Teague, theathletic.com, with us on Ohio State, Julian Sayin, and that quarterback battle that, at least for now, he is the guy. He is the guy.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how they look. I've not been shy about saying that I think that they could have a 9-3 season this year, just because of all the things that they have to change. Now, look, they're Ohio State. There are certain teams that in the new era of rev share and NIL, like, could probably lose a bunch of guys like that and not take a dent. And then there are the rest of them that they're going to take dents. It's going to look like, the NFL a little bit more than when you kind of have a clean out. Like, I think about teams after a Super Bowl a lot of times that, you kind of put it all together to make that run because you're the Saints or you're someone who hasn't won it ever. And you kind of go out and get veterans. And then the next year, like, all those guys that you had, like their goals are all achieved and they're, some of them retire or some are on 1-year deals. It's kind of going to be like that for some national champions. I think in college football, Ohio State's probably outside that group of the norm because of who they are.
Yeah, they're gonna have a terrible year. They're gonna be like 10-2 and make the playoff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where their bar is. It's just so crazy high that that could be a down year just to lose, a couple of games. But I expect them to still be very good, and I think it's good perspective on his part that we got the Michigan news on Friday, and we kind of had to instantly react to it because it just happened. But I looked into it more over the weekend. I still feel like they knew exactly what was going on to some degree. And here's my thing with that. I'm not trying to even debate that, but when I saw a lot of Michigan fans like Harbaugh knew nothing. It's like, so this guy who's known for being so smart to the point he's the head coach at Stanford and Michigan, like the two top schools that you can possibly name, basically, especially when it comes to, academics mixing with athletics and things of that nature. And just like how smart he is and the career he's had, you mean to tell me that he's just unaware? And I seem to recall various stories over the years where it doesn't matter what was being hid from you. You're the head of the program.
Yep, you're the captain
so
of the
that
ship.
To me still sticks no matter what. Like, okay, if guys were hiding stuff from you, those are still guys that you hired. And they weren't so I don't feel much differently, but I do feel slightly differently about not the wrist slap, but the money part of it. But the thing is, it's Michigan, though. Like, there's 1,000 lawyers that they could call on, boom, just like that. So I know not everybody's going to pony up enough money to make up for $20 million. It's going to hurt them. It's just going to have way less of an impact than it would have it like anywhere else but like 3 or 4 schools.
What's that guy, Larry Ellison? Isn't he that kind of like got a lot of money?
Well, he just made a billions-dollar deal to buy Paramount.
Yeah, he's the idiot that just gave the UFC like $7 billion that he'll never see back.
So let me ask you a question about the fight, and then we have a break coming up with the 5 o'clock hour. Former Illinois Hall of Famer David Williams will join us. Because I read it, we did it, we talked about it. Was there anything in there in which they'll lose any college football playoff revenue?
Well, it's postseason revenue.
That's postseason revenue. So that's where it hurts.
Yeah. That's still the TV or not being able to be in it would be devastating for anybody, no matter who you are. But
way more devastating is not being in the playoff. To tell them you couldn't be in the playoff. It doesn't matter how good you are. You're not going to be on TV. You're not going to have the opportunity. That's a way worse punishment. And when people are thinking of like laying the hammer down, they're not thinking about financial penalties and things of that nature. They're thinking about getting a bowl ban or something along those lines. And so I think that's why everybody just immediately reacted to this is nothing. But yeah, financially, that's going to hurt somewhat.
Yeah, when you've got Stephen Ross and Larry Ellison that you can just call up and be like, hey, can you just make us, like, you got 3 or 4 of those guys that could, kind of take a small little dent out of that for you, or a large dent of the $20 million out. That's not going to hurt you. Now, if you had $20 million, $30 million fine, plus you can't be on television.
No, the fine is nothing.
And you can't be in the postseason. That's the blood everybody wanted.
That's what they get to. Yeah. That's why they go and start workouts in the fall for that.
Here's the thing, though.
In the 70s, A&M, and others who have been hit with penalties, that was the part that killed them. Was not just the loss of some scholarships, as you could not be on TV and you could not even be ranked in a top 25 poll. That happened a couple of times, I know for sure, in the 70s.
Here's the thing about everything I just said, though, is I'm giving Harbaugh credit by saying he's too smart to be so stupid as to have this ongoing, and then there's the whole debate about what rules were actually broken, and we got into everybody does this to some degree, and so I don't even care. Like, honestly, I really don't. I'm glad there's some resolution to it. I can see where you'd really care if you're an Ohio State fan, you'd really care if you're a Michigan State fan, or just people who feel like they went above and beyond and breaking the rules. But that's all very much a debate. And honestly, when you start to sort through debates online, it's hard to know who's even knows what they're talking about and what's actually true or not, because you have people spouting off like lawyerly things. And you're like, is that really true? I don't know that it is, but you say it with such confidence that it makes me think that it is, when in reality it might not be. So it's hard to really sort things through by looking through the conversation because it's so muddied as is. But the part about the money is they're going to appeal that. So yeah, if they get hit with that money, that's going to hurt. But we still don't know exactly how that will all work because Michigan's obviously going to try to appeal.
All right. Thank you very much for the time and also the discussion. David Williams will join us in a moment. 2 super chats to get to. Brandon and Andrew, put them up if you don't mind. One, we're about to have 365 hats. Stay tuned, sports degenerates. Degenerates is spelled wrong, but that's okay.
But that's how we spell it.
Unless
Kim can spell it however he wants to.
Yeah, but
exactly.
Kim Coulter, he has been banging on the door to get these hats, and I know Corey and company are working on that. The other super chat, Ivan Mazelle, Hall of Fame greatness. He'll join us in about 20 minutes or so, the author of the book, the latest book on former Notre Dame legend Frank Lehey.
So did Kim send these in the last few minutes, guys, or did he send these?
No, he knows about Joyner.
Huh?
He knows about Quentin Joyner.
I was going to say, I don't think he was celebrating in the last few minutes with the news that came down. And you know what? You look at that depth chart for Texas Tech. That's a more than significant loss.
It is a loss, but the young man that I know well from Beckville, Texas, Jacoby Williams, is an explosive player. And then Cameron Dickey out of, I think, Austin or somewhere is also one hell of a player. But you're right. He's an experienced guy. Quentin Joyner from USC out for the year, it appears, with the knee injury.
Cameron Dickey will be the first man up and probably be the guy that gets the bulk of the carries for sure. But then, Jacoby Williams will be pretty good. And they've got a third running back who hasn't played, a freshman as well. But that's all. That's it. Yeah. That's the depth chart.
They're replacing their best overall player at that position in Taj Brooks.
Taj Brooks, who we love. That absolutely. When we come back, David Williams, College Football Hall of Fame receiver from Illinois, part of the National Football League, and more. He's next. This is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. Ted Teague, general manager, and also the CEO of that great dealership. And right now they've got something for you, including 2022 Mini Cooper S, less than 25,000 miles for just $24,285. How about the four-wheel drive Cummins diesel, the 2018 Ram 3500 Tradesman? That's a dude now for just under $39,000. 2021 Chevy Tahoe Z71 for just under $48,000, and a 2023 GMC Yukon Denali. That is a good-looking SUV. Ultimate 4x4 with under 25,000 miles. If you want Jeep, you want Ram trucks, they, of course, have an incredible display on their lot of brand new cars, trucks, and vehicles and SUVs, and also pre-owned. I bought one from them, a pre-owned 2017 Ford Explorer in May of 2020. I've loved it. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected. Get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Penny Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men
an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
We have members of the National Football Foundation that are a part of our staff. We'll also get to vote for things like the College Football Hall of Fame and more. And Phil Marwell, who does a great job with the National Football Foundation. The weekly Super 16 poll, you're looking at David Williams, former Illinois All-American and College Football Hall of Famer. He gave me a list of a lot of people to contact to get their opinion on the Super 16 poll and really on their career and also the college football season. David, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. So what was it like when you got that call that you were going into the College Football Hall of Fame?
Back when I got the call, it was a dream come true because when you get elected to the Hall of Fame, you are joining, the greats of the game. All the people you looked up to, all the great players you watched growing up and you played against. And then when they call you, you are in that elite club. So that was very exciting for me. And my parents got to enjoy it as well.
So you were dominant at Illinois. Would you say that you guys' stretch as a team is the best stretch that the Illini have had in their history? Or is there a better one? Yeah.
Yes, in the 80s, because we had a coach that recruited like top-ranked quarterbacks. They went from Dave Wilson to Tony Eason to Jack Trudeau to Jeff George. Those are all first-round draft pick quarterbacks. So, and his system, he came out of the Bill Walsh system. Mm-hmm. So he knew how to put up points on the board, and he had quarterbacks that could actually, sling it.
Was there any sort of adjustment going from being a California guy to the smack dab in the middle of the country in Illinois?
Yeah, the winters.
Yeah, I bet.
Hey, funny story. When you're a freshman or when you're young, you go, in August and training camp and all that kind of stuff. And it was like January when we got back after Christmas break. I called my mom and I said, "Hey, Mom, you and Dad need to send me some money for a winter coat." And my mom said, "Boy, I just bought you a winter coat and sent you with it, right?" And I said, "Mom, you can't buy a winter coat in Los Angeles for Illinois." I said, "So you either get me one or I'm gonna find a way to get one because I'm freezing."
What was the hardest part about that? Was it how cold it got based on just the temperature or the wind that you dealt with?
I think a combination of both.
Yeah.
Because and I was a junior college transfer, and they were used to like junior college transfers that was like after their second year. So it would have been a third year out of high school. But I transferred because I had the grades and my game was able to go after 1 year, right? So they let me move off campus. I moved off campus. I didn't have a car. And then we talking about that cold wind stuff, right? So I almost flunked out of school because I would go to the bus stop and that wind would hit me and I would run back to my room and get in the bed.
Like with a heating pad or whatever you found, right?
whatever you find.
Whatever you find.
Yeah, that cuts right through you. Well, look, it worked out for you eventually. You're in the you played many years in the CFL. Now, granted, they play in the summertime where it's like perfect, like into the early fall. The weather then is like you can't complain about it the first couple months of the CFL season, really at all.
Right.
But how much did that like? You played in the NFL, you played in college football, you played in Canadian football. You have given a lot of different things to this game in a lot of different ways. How much fun was that to get to experience all those different things?
It was awesome. You know, when I viewed it as being a lucky person and having the opportunity to play a game I loved. So it was never about the money. I didn't care what province I was in, what state I was in, what city I was in. I just loved to play. If I had to work a job and I could have played a football game at night, I would have did it. I just love to play. Like I played it like when I was 8, 9, 12 years old. I just loved playing. So I played as hard as I could, as long as I could, until they blew the whistle and told me to get off the field.
David, you look at the Illinois receiving record books, and you are the number one guy in not every single category, but the ones you're not number one, you're like top 4 or 5 at worst. We could go over all of them, but the 16-catch game that you had back in 1985 against Purdue, what was that like? What's that like when the ball's coming your way that often and you are just catching passes left and right?
Well, you did whatever you had to do to win. And we were kind of behind, and Rod Woodson was guarding me that day. So, you know, I knew I had to be at the top of my game, and we actually lost. We missed a pass at the end of the game with time running out to win the game. That was the one time in my whole career that my quarterback actually missed me. He never missed me. And it was one of those, whoever had the ball last was going to win the game, and we had it last, and we drove down to the 10-yard line. Last play of the game, it just went over my head, and we lost. But that was a great game. It was an exciting game, and having a game like that, you just feel like you can do anything.
You had 101 catches in 1984, and as we've said, you put up huge numbers throughout your career. Were you almost in some ways ahead of your time with the way you see the ball being slung around these days to receivers?
But that was the system. That was Mike White. He had that Bill Walsh system.
Right.
So I was fortunate enough to play in that system. And I chose Illinois, 1, because my big brother was playing there, and 2, because when you watch those guys play on TV, they were throwing the ball all over the place. And like I met John Robinson, recruited me at USC, but Marcus Allen had just won the Heisman Trophy. And he said, "Hey, we want you to come here and sign. You're going to be our guy." And I said, "Man, you guys pitched the ball too much."
Yeah, running back you or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. And he told my mom, he's like, "Hey," he told my mom, "Oh, we change our offense for those, we'll change our offense to fit him, right?" And I told my mom, I said, "Mom and Dad, what does OJ, Mike Garrett, Ricky Bell, Anthony Davis, Marcus Allen, and Charlie White have in common?" And she said, "What?" I said, "They all play running back."
Yeah.
That's not what I play.
Yeah.
David, you had the great opportunity to play with a lot of great quarterbacks in your time. You mentioned Jack Trudeau was your quarterback at Illinois, and he had a very long NFL career. He was a great college quarterback. Who was your favorite that you got to play with? I think if my math is right, you played with Doug Flutie in the CFL for a little bit, right?
I never played.
You missed him. You guys missed him.
Oh,
but he's the one person I would stand on the sideline and leave the water alone, and I would just watch him because he was fantastic to play. My favorite quarterback, I got to play with him a few times, and I won a Grey Cup. His name was Matt Dunnigan. He was a tough competitor, and he had a cannon, and we just saw eye to eye. Sometimes he would come up and call a play, and I could be out wide, and I would look at him, and I'd look in the middle of the field, and we'd see it wasn't a safety. We wouldn't even change the play. I would just change my route and run where that safety was not, and he'd throw it. So I got to play with a gunslinger with a cannon, so I just had a ball.
David, you're your bloodlines run deep at Illinois. I mean, you and your brothers having played there, you clearly have a lot of love for the school. Your place in the record books, Hall of Fames, all of that. What's it like to see them having a little bit of juice? This 10-win season, first time in over 20 years. Just the excitement around the program right now. How would you describe it, and what's it like from your point of view as a former player?
Well, you can see the excitement, and those fans deserve it so much. I go to a game once a year. I host a charity golf tournament there. So this year is going to be September 12th, and then we'll go watch the play Western Michigan, I think. So the excitement, the buzz is there. So I'm excited for the program. I'm excited for the players, and hopefully we can keep it going. I was watching you guys. I was listening to you guys talk about the Michigan and Ohio States and all that stuff. You guys have some awesome conversations about football. That's pretty cool.
Well, thank you very much. The Big Ten, what are your thoughts about expanding, including schools in your backyard where you were in California with USC and UCLA now?
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. You killing rivalries.
I agree.
Right? And then your schedules are not apples to apples, which is not fair, because you say like a Big Ten school like Indiana. I'm gonna pick on Indiana. They don't play a schedule like LSU. They don't play a schedule like Ohio State. Sometimes they'll have some good games, because when you have too many teams in a conference, you miss a lot of tough teams that you don't have to play, and that's kind of not fair.
Yeah, you get an algorithm where you might have a year or two where you are fortunate that you're not going to have, and then you have some schools that are in the middle of the pack that might play Oregon, USC, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, and whatever else. And then when you have someone like Illinois jump up like you did last year with Bielema and win 10 games, all of a sudden it's like, well, you might be okay that all of a sudden you get that, or Indiana with what you said, where they were able to make the big jump. And people don't know this maybe that are watching this, and they want to make sure I mention this. Until your season when you caught 101 passes, only one player had ever caught 100 passes at the NCAA level in Howard Twilley, who went on to be a part of the Miami Dolphins in a Super Bowl with Bob Greasy and company. So you were the second player in the history to get over 100 passes thanks to that Mike White offense.
Yes. And can you believe he had 135 catches?
Yeah, it's nuts.
They probably played less games too.
No, probably did. They probably played 10 or 11.
Probably 10. Yeah, that was exciting. And unfortunately, when you guys are talking about the probations, in that year, we were on probation for something that happened like 3 years before I got there, where we didn't get a bowl game to add more stats.
Yeah, it's so strange, especially like if you look back on the 80s and SMU and the Southwest Conference and what would happen with you guys, and then teams would get punished, but it's you. Like, you didn't do it. Like, so who are you, like, who are you really hurting?
That's kind of what was brought up in the Michigan thing, whether we agree with it or not. Yeah.
Yes.
Why hurt those who weren't there?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of unfair. And another quick point is, all of them do some kind of form of watching and stealing signs and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's who gets caught, right? And the money disparity with some of the big programs is not fair to all the little programs. So it's never apples to apples. And the big schools are always going to stay the big schools because they have donors that's going to shell out money. Yep. You guys mentioned Larry Ellerson, that guy. I mean, he can pay that fine if he wanted to.
Yeah. Hey, David, one more question from me, and we appreciate it. Again, a member of the College Football Hall of Fame, National Football Foundation, and I mentioned Phil Marwell, who given us a lot of contact names, and we appreciate that. Michael Bishop will be on with us. We've had him on before, K-State great, on Wednesday. So you're a part of that Super 16 poll.
Yes, sir.
And obviously, you hear a lot of discussion about the AP or the coaches poll. What's that like, and how long, and do you grind on that every week before you have that sent out?
I grind on it. I do. I sent mine out last week. And the reason you want to be fair, right? Because you got to look at some of the schedules. Like Indiana, I wouldn't rank them high last year because I looked at their schedule. And they didn't play anybody. They played like one hard school. So I don't know if you guys have looked, but look at Wisconsin's schedule. Wisconsin's schedule.
We have done it.
You mentioned it earlier. Brutal. They play Alabama, Penn State, Oregon, Ohio State. Like, oh my God.
Yep.
But then you get Indiana, and then my school this year too. We're gonna have one of those schedules. So I'm gonna ding you a little bit if you have an easy schedule. I'm not voting you in the top 10 if you have an easy schedule. I'm not doing it.
By the way, we went last year to go up to Lincoln to watch Illinois play on, I think, a Friday night against Nebraska. Hell of a game. I mean, overtime, great football game. I'm a Nebraska guy, born in Omaha, but it was a hell of an atmosphere and a hell of a game. It's one of those games, if you win it, you're going to win 8 or 9, 10 games. If you don't, you're going to try to scratch and claw to get to a bowl game.
You know what I remembered about that game? That quarterback is going to be really good.
Dylan Raiola?
Yes. He made a huge mistake at the end of the game. He missed the tight end wide open in the end zone to win the game.
Yeah, he did. That? Yep. Overthrew him by about a foot or two. Yep.
That's the difference in a whole season for them and us.
Yep. David, thank you, man. Great to have you. Congratulations on your career, what you're also doing with your business and then the golf tournament and giving back. We appreciate your time so much.
Anytime, fellas. Anytime you need somebody, call me.
Yes, sir. David Williams, College Football Hall of Fame, National Football Foundation, and also the Football Writers Association of America Super 16 poll.
Yeah, he's got quite a place in the Illinois record books. I mean, he's all over the top spot in pretty much every receiving category. And like I said to him in the lead up to one of those questions, like what he's not number one in, he's at worst like 3 or 4. I mean, he's, if not for like a Pat Bryant or, one or two guys here and there, he'd have all of the number one spots. So, yeah, what a stud and what a cool honor and what a good time to be an Illini fan.
Yep, it is. But give you an example about his 101 catches. And there are now over 100 players in NCAA history that have caught 100 passes or more in a season. He was the second ever back in his career when he was with the Illinois Fighting Illini. He played there back in the mid-'60s, then went on to play with the Bears and a long time in the CFL.
Yeah, mid-'80s.
Mid-'80s. I'm sorry.
I like, damn, he looks good.
Yeah, mid-'80s.
Yeah, mid-'80s.
All right, win week, he was also a unanimous All-American twice. That makes sense because he's in the Hall of Fame. When we come back, Ivan Mazelle. He wrote a book about Frank Lehey. He followed Newt Rockne. Remember the deal? I think Paul brought this up in the interview. You don't want to be the one that follows a legend. You want to be the one that followed the legend. Frank Lehey, the triumph and tragedy of Notre Dame's former coach, Ivan Mazelle, who's a great author and college football Hall of Fame writer. He's next. And this is 365 Sports. Ideal MRI, Dr. Rob Maxey and his staff and the owners of that company. What a great idea, and it's worked for a long, long time. I've endorsed them since they opened up their doors inside the Central Texas marketplace off I-35 in Waco. They, 2 things. 1, they wanted to make sure they kept the cost down. 2, they had to make sure that no question that they had the state-of-the-art imaging machine, and they do. And they keep the cost down for you, the customer, the patient, at $497 or less every single time. So if you have some arthritis that your doctor wants to get a better look at, if you have something that really is painful where you really can't even sleep because it hurts so much, or something that is just shut you down, makes you miserable, and your doctor wants a better look, make sure you tell them, and they'll know about IdealMRI.com. $497 or less, thanks to Dr. Rob Maxey and his great staff and partners at IdealMRI.com.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is 365 Sports. Check out the 365 Sports family of channels on YouTube.
The triumph and tragedy of Notre Dame legend Frank Lehey from Ivan Mazelle. Here's a copy of the book. I appreciate the fact it was sent to us, and Ivan Mazelle, who's authored many books before, has joined us before. How'd you get this idea? You pick some. So, I mean, this makes sense after reading it, but just how did these ideas come to mind?
Well, thank you, David and Paul, for having me. This idea came out of the research I did for the 150th anniversary of college football in 2019. Yeah, I noticed that Frank Lehey, when he retired in 1953, had the second best winning percentage in the history of the game to Newt Rockne, who he played for. And when I looked at the list in 2019, and when I looked at it again this morning, he's still second to Newt Rockne. So I thought, boy, that's nobody knows who he is. Then I looked to see when he was elected to the College Football Hall of Fame, and it took him 13 tries to be elected. And what I came to learn in my research is that the other coaches didn't like him, so they just wouldn't vote him in. And but it had nothing to do with his talent. And in fact, there was more than one of them who said it. You know, it was because he beat everybody so badly that they just didn't like him.
So when you think about the life of Frank Lehey and what he brought, I mean, like. After Newt Rockne, it's really hard to be the guy who follows the person who is probably synonymous with the explosion of college football. Like Newt Rockne's the guy who lit the spark. And then Frank Lehey, because he had to coach his first couple years, right before World War II and then stopped for a little while and came back. How much does just his timeline affect the fact that we don't think of him as much as we do someone like Newt Rockne?
Oh, Paul, I think that's got a lot to do with it. I think Rockne lives on and remains prominent in part because of President Reagan, in part because of the movie that President Reagan was in. But look, nobody remembers, anyone from the before and after David and Paul, for having me. This idea came out of the research I did for the 150th anniversary of college football in 2019. I noticed that Frank Lehey, when he retired in 1953, had the second best winning percentage in the history of the game to Newt Rockne, who he played for. And when I looked at the list in 2019, and when I looked at it again this morning, he's still second to Newt Rockne. So I thought, boy, that's nobody knows who he is. Then I looked to see when he was elected to the College Football Hall of Fame, and it took him 13 tries to be elected. And what I came to learn in my research is that the other coaches didn't like him, so they just wouldn't vote him in. And but it had nothing to do with his talent. And in fact, there was more than one of them who said it. It was because he beat everybody so badly that they just didn't like him.
So when you think about the life of Frank Lehey and what he brought, I mean, like after Newt Rockne, it's really hard to be the guy who follows the person who is probably synonymous with the explosion of college football. Like Newt Rockne's the guy who lit the spark, and then Frank Lehey, because he had to coach his first couple years, right before World War II, and then stopped for a little while and came back. How much does just his timeline affect the fact that we don't think of him as much as we do someone like Newt Rockne?
Oh, Paul, I think that
the triumph and tragedy of Coach, the triumph and tragedy of Notre Dame legend, Frank Lehey, from Ivan Mazelle. Here's a copy of the book. I appreciate the fact it was sent to us and Ivan Mazelle, who's authored.
I think Rockne lives on and remains prominent in part because of President Reagan. There's been more than one coach that has had this kind of success. And I think because of Lehey, Notre Dame became Notre Dame.
In the book, he admits that he went to Notre Dame, and a lot of guys did because of Newt Rockne. And that it seemed to me, Ivan, am I right or wrong, that Rockne kind of liked him, but wanted to make sure he didn't know how much he liked him because he was tough as hell on him too?
Well, Rockne was tough on all of them, but Rockne's great gift, David, was he liked people and he knew how to communicate. They used to make the comment that when Rockne beat the stew out of somebody after the game, he'd throw his arm around the coach and make a joke and get the guy laughing. And gee, Rockne was a great guy. And when Lehey beat you, he'd step on your chest on the way off the field. I mean, Lehey did not have that personality that Rockne had. Lehey was a bit of an introvert. And all he thought about day and night was how to win a football game. And that, I think, was a big reason why he burnt out in his mid-40s.
Well, he wrote a book about the Power T, and knowing, the little that I do about him and the research I did, going into this interview, it seems that his personality would be not necessarily to write a memoir, but to write a book about this is how you run this offense and this is how we did it. And not some kind of, like Newt Rockne, would have sat there and regaled you with tales of games past and all these different things. Frank Lehey's like, no, the guard lines up here, the tackle lines up here, the wide receivers right here. The rest of that stuff didn't seem like he would have cared about it.
No, he never really, he actually started work on a memoir that fizzled, and that manuscript is in the archives at Notre Dame, so that helped me a great deal. There's only about 65, 70 pages of it, but he was a guy that really only thought about football. And his son Fred, who is 6th of his 8 children and who is still alive and doing well and in Arizona, said a few years ago that Dad belonged to the world and Mom had 8 kids. Lehey traveled all over the country when the season ended, going to coaching clinics and promoting Notre Dame, and it's really all he thought about and all he did.
Was he a happy guy?
That's a good question. Not in the sense that he, as I said, he wasn't a people person.
Right.
I think he was happy when he won a football game and when he was doing something that would contribute to winning a football game. His coaching career ended at the age of 45 because of his health. The stress just became too much for him. And he really groped about the last 20 years for something to do that would be as fulfilling as what he had done up to that point. And he never really found it. He tried to get back into coaching. His health wouldn't allow it. It's particularly at Texas A&M, which hired him, and then he had to beg out. He got into football administration. He got into the business world, which turned out to be pretty well a disaster. And then he just became a public speaker and ranted about communism as what plenty of people did in the late 50s, and throughout the 60s, but never found anything that made him as happy as winning a football game.
He drives or he gets on a train in the snow to get to Notre Dame. But here are some other things that I wrote down, I circled. He took a job crushing rocks for a contractor. And again, it's a different time. There's another one that says he helped plant at a plant covered pipes with asbestos for $75 a week. He manual labor, carrying 100-pound sacks of dry goods. I know that might have been the time, but he must have been one tough son of a bitch.
Well, he absolutely was, David. And I mean, think about this. He was born in a little town in Nebraska in 1908, and his dad moved everybody to the South Dakota prairie when before Frank's first birthday. He spent his first winter in a tent on the South Dakota prairie. So he came from some pretty tough stock. He became an accomplished rider / cowboy as a kid, really, and did that a lot during the summers. And he was driven, and part of that was to prove to his father that he could make a life in football. His father wanted him to be a boxer, which he didn't want to do, and part of it was because he had an older brother, Gene, who had been a very good football player at Creighton University in Omaha, and Gene mentored him until he got to Notre Dame. And he wanted to prove to Gene that he could do it because Gene had done so much to help him. And that's really what kickstarted him.
I find it interesting that you said that he, in his public speaking career, that he would rant about communism and all these things. If I, in 1962 hired Frank Lehey to come and speak to my group, I'd be a little disappointed if he got into communism. Was that just, I want to hear football talk, not necessarily what he thinks about the Ruskies. Did that change a lot of perception about him too? Is that like, oh, this is kind of a crabby, cranky old man at this point?
Well, I think he mixed football into it, Paul. Yeah. And I think in the 60s, the proper pronunciation was Ruskies.
Ruskies.
No, I'm kidding. I think he would do both, but he took it very seriously. That as a lot of people did in that day and age, that this was a threat. He was a pretty conservative guy, and was a close friend and golfing buddy of President Eisenhower. And he, in fact, seconded his nomination at the 1956 Republican National Convention in San Francisco. So that's the way he leaned, and anything that Lehey believed in, he believed in wholeheartedly. So he was very concerned about American youth. Every generation thinks the generation that's coming after them is soft. And he thought that, and he was going to be determined to do something about it.
Did Lehey know that Rockne thought that he was going to be the greatest college football coach of all time?
He heard Rockne brag about him, if you believe the stories. I mean, some of the stories I thought David, were a little thick. I think some of them were I use the word schmaltz, that they just were laid on a little thick. And there was one anecdote that I read in 4 different stories over a period of about 5 years, which told me that the sports information director at Notre Dame was the one repeating the anecdote. And Lord knows if it was true or not, about Rockne bragging on Lehey. But Lehey told one story that after his senior year, Rockne took him to the Mayo Clinic. Rockne needed to go for his issues, and Lehey had blown out his knee as a senior and hadn't played. And while they were there, it was in Minnesota, and the Minnesota head coach, Fritz Chrysler, came up to the Mayo Clinic to see Rockne. And Rockne said to him, "This is Frankie Lehey. He's got a great football mind. He's going to be a great coach someday." And Chrysler, by the time Lehey became the coach at Notre Dame, Chrysler was at Michigan, and those two really butted heads.
Was Lehey as good of a developer of coaches as a lot of the guys who were in his regard as a head coach were? Did he have a good coaching tree in your opinion?
No, not in the way that some guys have had, like Bryant and Saban and John McKay, and the whole Hal Mumme, Mike Leach tree. Lehey's staff at Notre Dame stayed pretty static. There weren't a lot of guys who left, and the guys who left to become head coaches had some success, but not really notable success. And I think that speaks to the force of Lehey's personality and how driven he was.
So was the Gipper speech actually true? I get a conflicting of whether or not that actually was something he gave, but I thought I've heard audio with that.
Well, Lehey was in the locker room when Rockne gave it. That was Lehey. That was 1928. Lehey was a junior. They were playing Army in New York, and Lehey was in the locker room. That season, he was able to play a little bit. He hurt his elbow, and he actually limited him to about half the season. But he came back for that game, and he always swore that it was a real stem winder of a speech, as we all came to learn.
Ivan Mazelle with us, the book again, American Coach, The Triumph and Tragedy of Notre Dame Legend Frank Lehey. Paul?
How much of this is a great time, Ivan, to write a book about Notre Dame, because it seems that they're back on the rise again with Marcus Freeman. Do you take that into consideration, or is that more of the publishing company's deal about let's put out this book about Notre Dame while they're good again and people might be interested in the past?
Well, I would love to take credit for that, Paul, but the fact is I started working on this book 3 years ago. So, I had an inkling that Marcus Freeman would turn Notre Dame around, but they were pretty good under Brian Kelly. So they were prominent, and let's face it, Notre Dame is Notre Dame, and they are one of a handful of schools that has a national presence in what has been for 156 years a regional sport. So if you want to write something that will appeal to people across the country, there's really only those schools. Those schools are a good start. The Notre Dames, Michigans, Ohio State, Alabamas, et cetera. And even at that, I don't think there's anybody like Notre Dame. And it just all kind of came together. I thought Lehey had a story to tell that had been forgotten. Notre Dame is Notre Dame. And then the fact that they made, they're a national contender again is just dumb luck. For me, anyway.
The national brand, and you mentioned schools. Texas is probably in that group too.
Yes.
But we're getting away from that, Ivan. We're getting away from it's with all this explosion of realignment, and how you'd cover the game for a long time, still do. What are your thoughts about where we are right now with college football and athletics?
Well, it's funny when you write, when you want to write a book, there's a formulaic thing you do. You write it's called a book proposal, and you have a sample chapter, and you do a summary of each other chapter and how you plan to market it and so forth. And then you shop it among publishers. And the Grand Central Publishing, which is an arm of Hachette that I had written a book for before, the editor called me and said, well, college athletics is in upheaval. Why aren't you writing a book about that? It would be timely. I said, well, actually, it wouldn't be timely, because in the 9 months between when I gave you the manuscript and when you published the book would be obsolete.
Yep.
Things are changing so fast. I think it's, I just think it would be foolish to try to write a book right now about what's going on.
Yeah, it would almost be like you make something to eat and then like, hold on, we're going to wait for this. Like, well, it's spoiled, right? Like, why this pie was good. Well, okay, that was a long time ago. It's not anymore.
It's like when the newspapers now.
Yeah.
Because by the time they print in the morning, you get it right. It's old news. We've already known about it for 12 or 16 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you find, what I think is interesting, if you go back to the beginning, the rocky times of college football, when they were trying to figure out what the rules were, like what they should do, especially in the very early on, Teddy Roosevelt, 20 years before that had to make everybody get in a room and determine if forward passes were going to be legal and how how you're going to call penalties to make sure that people don't die during this game and all of that. And then that was even before you start recruiting and bringing guys in as it got popular. There are certainly some ties to then and now, in that it seemed that at both times, even the people who should know what they're doing don't completely know what they're doing.
Yeah, that's been one constant throughout the history of the game, hasn't it? I mean,
yeah.
Look at where we are now. Everybody's groping for answers.
Well, the Big Ten's trying to get a 400 team playoff or something, like everybody's in kind of a thing. And that, like, it's just so bizarre that we went from, we can never have a playoff, this sport doesn't support it, to let's let everybody in the playoff no matter what.
Well, look, you've now put me in the middle of a minefield, because I'm on the college football playoff selection committee.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
When those questions come, I'm supposed to give only name, rank, and serial number. So
come on. Yeah, we've had, like Mack Rhodes, we see, at Baylor, among other, we've had the guys that have served that before, and I can't even imagine. I mean, that's but yeah, you did well. You handled that question from Paul very, very well.
Yeah.
So I got this. I think his brother is the one that perhaps Gene made this comment, and I saw this. If you know at least one person truly believes in you, you're going to die before you'll let him down. Is that the way that Lehey also wanted to pass that on to his players?
Absolutely. He pushed them really hard, David, but he built their trust in him, no matter how hard he pushed them, and they loved him. They all came back toward the end of his life, when he still hadn't made it into the Hall of Fame. Notre Dame had this huge testimonial dinner on campus. It was in January of 1969, 15 years to the day after his resignation. And he had nearly 150 former players come, and they all wanted him to know what he had meant to them. And then in the 90s, as they were aging, they got together and raised the money for the statue of Lehey that now stands outside Notre Dame Stadium. So they clearly loved him and believed in him.
I told you before Paul jumped in, I was like, when I got the book and when I was contacted about it, I'm like, I forgot. about how much success he had, even though I remembered the name. And then, of course, I mentioned Rockney and others and Parsegian and others. But how would someone who played for him, knew him, family or not, how would they look at the way you wrote the book? Are they thrilled that you were able to kind of tell his story?
I would hope so, and I hope their children respond that way. I mean, I have of Frank and Florence Lehey's 8 children, 4 are alive, and 2 of them are in good health. And Fred, who I brought up earlier, has been my liaison to the family, and Fred is the one I went to see when I first had this idea, because he and I had an email friendship just because he's a college football fan. And I went to see him and said, "Hey, I wanted to write about your dad." And he was grateful and helpful. And I sent him the manuscript, and he was again grateful. And he pointed out a couple of things that I worked on. But they, I think he's thrilled, and I think the family is thrilled that I'm bringing Frank Lehey back in front of people again.
Paul, before you have another follow-up, I was going to, just for those that don't know, I'm sorry, he was 107, 13-9, 9 ties. He also had 6 teams that went undefeated, won 4 national titles in 11 years. That's very much Saban-like with what he did at Alabama. Paul?
Is that the tightrope when you're writing a biography, is to be authentic, but also respectful? Because sometimes, you can maybe writers can fall down a rabbit hole of one negative aspect of a person's life, and then it doesn't maybe tell the full story, or it's distracting to the rest of it.
No, you're right. Paul, it's a judgment call. I mean, you want to present the person as they really were, and that's going to include flaws. And Frank Lehey had his flaws, and I think they're in the book. But I kept thinking to myself, of all the great leaders, certainly in the 20th century, and if you want to go back farther, whose flaws we have come to learn, and yet we still revere them. You can pretty much pick a presidential name out of the hat in that case. Certainly athletes, we've learned we're not all saints, and yet we still feel about them. We still look up to them in a way, and I think it just makes them more human. And that was sort of the light I tried to follow as I wrote the book.
Many times honored by the Football Writers Association of America. The pipeline, and you were at the Dallas Morning News over the years, Ivan, of the great columnists, analysts, broadcasters, whoever. We knew Randy Galloway. We still know Randy Galloway, and I know he eventually moved on. And then Frank Luxa or Blackie Sherrod. What was it like? I could keep on going on. What was it like to be a part of that fraternity?
It was a treat. It was a real treat. I got to the Morning News when I was 27 years old, and really didn't know my behind from third base. But I learned a lot from those guys. I tried to listen a lot when they started talking, because they were all great storytellers, as good journalists tend to be, and it was just a real treat. You didn't have to reach back too far. I mean, Blackie was directly connected to Dan Jenkins and Bud Shrake and all those great Texas voices. So it was a thrill, and the Morning News staff still gets together in Dallas, and when I try to time my visits to Dallas, when there's usually monthly or semi-monthly lunches. And Dave Smith, who was our sports editor, is still in great health and comes, and it's just a thrill to see everybody.
Ivan, where and when can they get the book?
The book will be released on September 16th. You is certainly available for pre-order up to September 16th on Amazon or at your independent bookstore. wherever you can buy a book, it's available. And I will be, because I'm going to Dallas regularly in the fall for the selection committee, I've got a appearance in Terabang Books scheduled in November, and I'm hoping to come down to other places like Houston or anywhere that'll have me. So
do me a favor and make sure that they give us your schedule about that appearance so we could put it back up on the screen during our afternoon podcast. Again, here's the book. I was fortunate to get one of the copies. This is advanced reading copy. It was fantastic. And one of those books where you start to read it and you can't, like, I am tired, and I just kept wanting to know and learn more and more. And of course, always remember the great book and the experience with Max, your son, and how you opened your heart up to so many people, which was awe-inspiring and amazing. Ivan Mazelle, thank you very much for your time. Congratulations on a man that a lot of people don't remember enough about, and maybe they will now know about, Frank Lehey. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome. Brought to you by Flag and our preseason cap. And please go to flagandanthem.com. Use 5 Sports. If you do, and tell me how much you like your shirt, because I've been saying this pun for now 5 top 5s, Cadillac, and yes, we do puns here. It's a play on my last name and the fantastic line of cars, Cadillac. Now let's get into the hog mollies on the offensive line. Number 5, Cadillac offensive lineman, Jordan Seaton at Colorado. This guy might have single-handedly brought about the vaccine that ailed the Colorado offensive line for the last couple of years. He was mad when they lost some transfers out, but that inspired more transfers to come in. They might actually improve in that area, and they did last year, mostly because of Jordan Seaton. Shadur Sanders owes maybe half his passing yards to Jordan Seaton. Travis Hunter shares his Heisman Trophy with Jordan Seaton because he was such a good left tackle as a true freshman. It was amazing. Number 4, Emil Wagner at Notre Dame. Had to step in last year because of injuries on the line, moved all around the line, played different positions. He's big, he's lean, he's strong, and he plays in the best run offense in the country, in my opinion. He's going to clear some holes for Jeremiah Love this year and block for C.J. Carr or whoever the quarterback winds up being at Notre Dame when that race is called. He is a fantastic player, young, got the experience last year, even though wasn't necessarily thinking he was going to get as much, but had a lot of playing time, steps in already ready to go. Emil Wagner at Notre Dame. Number 3, Francis Mauigoa from Miami. This guy is an old school Miami offensive lineman, the U offensive lineman. Kind of like Mario Cristobal, his head coach, an old school, the U offensive lineman for real. Mauigoa is strong, mean, angry, and he is the perfect offensive tackle. He's already angry when the ball is snapped. He's great in the run game, great in pass protection, will be a top 15 pick, if not higher. Number 2, Caden Proctor at Bama. Oh, Iowa, you had him for a minute. On the freaks list from Bruce Feldman this year, by the way. Absolutely amazing offensive tackle. And, wanted to stay home in Iowa, but the allure of watching a team actually score touchdowns pulled him back to Tuscaloosa. And he was fantastic. He will continue to be fantastic. Ty Simpson should already be Rolex. That's how good Caden Proctor is. The season hasn't even started yet. And number 1, another guy on the freaks list, Spencer Fano from Utah. Top 5 pick right here. And outside, especially Spencer's. What excited about this offensive line's potential with new quarterback Devin Dampier and the running backs he has. Can they give them time? Yes, they can. We will see a much because of the quarterback, but also because the offensive line is ready to go. And this guy is the alpha from that line. So don't forget his name. Tattooed in your eye. You probably don't want to do that. Either way, that's going to do it for us. Andrew Valade has polls. Smokey is supposed to read them. But who on earth could have ended by the time this is over? If it hasn't, you're going to get those poll results.
All right, thank you very much, Paul. And, oh, by the way, before we do, we have a super chat. Is that right, Brandon? Brandon Rowe running the mothership with Andrew Valade. There is, who succeeded Frank Lehey? It's a great question. I don't know that. I just know that he succeeded Newt Rockne. Let me see real quickly. I did not know that was going to come up, but let me find out. See the history of Notre Dame football coach. Here we go. So you had the great Newt Rockne, who, of course, was unbelievable. Frank Lehey, Edward McKeever was there for 1 year after Frank Lehey. So there we go.
He was there in between. Actually, the one
Terry Brennan.
Yeah, Terry Brennan is the one who actually did.
Oh, okay. He's the one that was there after Lehey. No, yeah, Terry 54 to 58. All of these guys, very, very few of them had records that weren't very good. Of course, Eric Parsegian, Dan Devine, many of them. Jerry Faust was a bust. A young man, from a coach from, Cincinnati Moeller High School. That did not work out. He was just above 500. Super chat, thank you very much, from John Peterson. Just because. John's working on some back issues. He was talking about that in the super chat. Good luck with all of what you're working with and dealing with yourself. Thanks to Andrew Valade. Here are the polls. Which Big 12 game day tradition is the best? The winner of this one moves into the Final Four. Rock, Chalk, Chant. Edge is Wabash Cannonball. I voted for Wabash. And then down below, Riff Raff Champ. I didn't even know about that. And then Bear Down Walk in Tucson.
Did Paul and his in-laws?
There's no question.
I don't ever really vote in these things. So, I don't want to muddy the water.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but you sent an email out with the link to like 1,500 of your family-in-law, didn't you?
No.
They didn't.
Well, if they did get that, then a bunch of them didn't vote.
Yeah,
apparently.
I know. That's exactly right.
There's only two that give a crap. It's Rami and Amanda.
Yeah.
I mean, the The rest of the family is.
Yeah, you would have needed more than just 2 to make the difference between
just
Wabash and the Cannonball. Okay, now so they move on. Rock Chalk moves into the Final Four, and the other one, Pat Tillman's Tunnel Run, 41%. Cougar Walk next at 30%. The Cougar Paul at Houston and Thunder Cannon, Utes Thunder Cannon, 174 votes for that one. And Pat Tillman, the Tunnel Run, former NFL player who was also killed in action with friendly fire, moves into the Final Four.
Can Ivan? We need to call Ivan back. I have his next book for him. I need him to figure out why at some point during the mascot naming history in sports that we settled on about 10 things.
Cougars,
Wildcats,
Bulldogs, Wildcats,
Tigers, Lions,
it's like high school football.
Yeah,
teams,
why do we just settle?
The Lions, the Tigers, Bobcats, the Bears, or whatever.
Yeah, why would we just settle on those things? And then we're so surprised when there's like a Ute. That's an interesting one, right?
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. Sun Devil, you know. And no offense to anybody who's a Cougar or not, it wasn't your choice. I'm just wondering at why in the 20s when they started naming mascots did we pick?
Are there any other
same?
Are there any other Sooners?
No.
Are there any more Seminoles?
No.
Okay. Huskers. Cornhuskers. Surely not.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Andrew. Thank you so much to Brandon Rowe and Zach Araya Burke is in studio to help us put together things for tonight's 365 Sports Tonight on the local CW. For Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina, we are here again tomorrow. We appreciate you and our great sponsors. Please, if you haven't, before you say goodbye, subscribe to 365 Sports, and good night.